Hello friends. This is Phoenix What If. How are you all? So in this video, we will see what if Naruto and the gang are sent to participate in the tournament that gathers shinobies from every country. But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video with your friends. Now, without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. A loud ring of the alarm clock sounded in the apartment, and it was instantly silenced by a mysterious hand. The hand belonged to a young boy with blonde hair, blue eyes and whisker marks on his cheeks. The boy stretched himself, looked at the clock, and with a sleepy face he said to himself, 8:30 in the morning. Tsunade Obakan told us to be at her office at 9. Without a rush he made himself breakfast, and guess what it was? Then brushed his teeth and changed clothes for black and orange dress and a shinobi forehead protector with leaf symbol on it. He arrived at the Hokage office 5 minutes past 9, just to see that everybody was already there. Some were totally different then from the time he saw them the last time, some didn't seem to change much. Haruno Sakura, a kunoichi with medium length, pink hair, green eyes, dressed in short, black leg guards and red zip-up top. His old teammate started to resemble Tsunade, her new sensei, more and more as time flew. Konoha's laziest shinobi, Nara Shikamaru, a guy with golden earrings in his ears with black hair clipped in a ponytail, wearing a green fishnet shirt and a black t-shirt under it, carrying a long, wooden stick. As usual, he seemed to be sleeping while he was standing. Sakura's old-time rival, Yamanaka Ino, a girl with long, blonde hair clipped into a ponytail. Yes, they grew back, dressed in a violet dress. She didn't seem to grown in looks, but during the last year she was probably the one who matured the most. The whitest genin of all, Akamichi Choji, a fat boy with hair pulled up into 2 spikes. Sorry, I just don't know how to describe Choji's haircut, with long, white scarf around his neck. It was said that he was training hard with his father on mastering the Akamichi clan's supreme techniques. What it was or if he made any progress was totally unknown to Naruto. A guy wearing sunglasses with messy, black hair, dressed in a light green overcoat, carrying 2 Fuma shurikens attached to his back. The attitude of Aburame Shino didn't seem to change at all during the time the blonde genin was away. A heir of one of the most respected clans in all of Konoha, Hyuga Hinata, a girl with short, black hair and completely white eyes, wearing blue pants and yellow overcoat. I know it should be silver, but light yellow fits her better, at least in my opinion. An impatient loud mouth, Inazuka Kiba, a guy in gray shirt, with messy, brown hair and 2 red fang tattoos on his cheeks. As usual, his white fur dog, Akamaru, assisted him, though he wasn't a little puppy anymore. Called by many, the greatest genius in all of Konoha, Hyuga Neji, a guy with white eyes just like Hinata, with long, black hair clipped in a ponytail, wearing gray dress with wide sleeves. One of the top genins, not only among Konoha ones. A kunoichi that didn't stand out to much, Tenten, a girl with brown hair clipped in 2 bonds, wearing pink shirt and blue pants. Probably one of the greatest weapon experts in the Leaf. The creepiest, if it goes to looks, genin around, Rock Lee, a guy wearing green with helmet-like, black hair and huge eyebrows. Among Konoha genins, none could match him in taijutsu. The only one missing was a certain, raven hair boy, but Naruto knew that one wouldn't show up. Good, you finally arrived, smiled an older-looking woman with blonde hair clipped in 2 ponytails behind her back with a huge rec. Now we can begin. So why have you called us here, Tsunade-sama? Asked Ino. The reason is simple, replied the Godem. I want all of you to participate in a certain tournament. A tournament? Shino gave the Leaf leader a questioning look. Yes, a tournament. It takes place only once every 10 years and it's a well-known event among the shinobis from all villages, and probably the best test for the young genins. So what is this event that you keep talking about, Hokage-sama? Asked Neji. It's called the Tiger Challenge and it allows genins from every hidden village to participate in it, explained Tsunade. But the number of teams from every village that can enter is limited. To how many? Asked Tenten. 4 per village, responded the Godem. And I've chosen you guys to represent Konoha on this decade's tournament. I'm afraid there are 2 buts about that, Tsunade-sama, announced Shikamaru. First one is the fact that I'm a Chunin so Ino and Choji don't have the third teammate. The other is the fact that Naruto and Sakura are in a similar situation. With those words both members of Kakashi's cell became a little gloomy. That has been already taken care of, Shikamaru, replied the Godem. As it goes for your team, you'll be allowed to participate in the tournament, even though you're a Chunin. Of course it's not like it was arranged just like that. Since a Chunin will take part in a tournament for Genins, Konoha will be able to send only one Junin with all the teams. I was hoping to seat this one out, Shikamaru though to himself. How troublesome. When it comes to you guys with those words Tsunade turned to Naruto and Sakura. I have found you a replacement for the Uchiha. A replacement? Repeated Sakura. Who? Easy, responded the Godem. I'll introduce this person to you right now. With those words the doors to the Hokage office opened and a boy in Naruto's age entered the room. He had a spiky, blonde hair, kinda like Naruto, with a long ponytail falling on his back and green eyes. A bit scar went across his right eye, but the eye itself didn't seem to be damaged. He wore a black shirt with short sleeves and a red kanji symbol that represented hyena on its back, white pants with short trouser legs, a bandage that covered his right hand, just like in Lee's case, and he had two katanas attached to his back. This is Nadare Fukumaru, announced Tsunade, and he'll be the new member of team number 7 for the time being. And just why should he be a member of our team? Yelled Naruto, pointing at the blonde. How do we know he's qualified enough? Isn't the fact that I could beat you up with my eyes closed enough? Replied Fukumaru with calm in his voice. What? Yelled the Kyuubi vessel. Let's take it outside, wimp. This kinda reminds me of a certain event from the past, thought Tsunade to herself. Nah. Naruto-kun, please don't, asked Hinata shyly, but the blonde genin has already left Hokage's office. Fukumaru just sighed and walked after the whisker-marked kid. This could be fun, smiled Kiba. Better get some popcorn, added Choji. We'll finally see how much you've grown, Naruto-kun, though Lee. How troublesome, sighed Shikamaru, as he followed the rest of the genins outside. Naruto stood in front of Fukumaru, giving him an angry look. Don't think that you'll be able to even touch me, he yelled to his opponent. Let me just tell you, that people who keeps yelling that they're the best, are usually extremely weak, replied Fukumaru, keeping his cool. I hate wasting time, so could we, please, start already? These guys are so troublesome, sighed Shikamaru. Somebody should stop them, whispered Hinata, but her request was completely overwhelmed by Kiba's shout. Come on, begin already. Suddenly, both Naruto and Fukumaru charged at each other. Naruto instantly performed his primary jutsu, Kage Bushin. Now there were 9 Narutos coming at Fukumaru. Simple shadow replication. Thought Fukumaru. What's he trying to do, make me laugh to death? And with that he performed a short chain of hand seals, yelling. Kaiten. Kasai Uzumaki. Suddenly chakra began to escape from his feet, forming a circle of fire around him. As 4 Narutos jumped into the air with an intent to land a powerful blow on Fukumaru's face, the flames forming the circle went up, creating a fire barrier around the swordsman. All of the shadow clones that crashed into that wall disappeared in the puff of smoke. Impressive, announced Lee. Looks like we've got another absolute defense, and with that he turned to his teammate. HMPH, was all the white-eyed boy responded. The 4 remaining clones of Naruto. The original one stayed behind, surrounded the whirlpool. Suddenly he felt chakra accumulating inside the barrier. Then Fukumaru's voice was heard. Kaiten. Kasai Habi. Before he knew it, a powerful fire missile in the shape of a viper with opened mouth came at the original. Naruto, acting on instinct, jumped to the air. He managed to avoid a direct hit, but his clothes got a little burnt. While he was still in midair, the fire barrier disappeared and his clones charged at Fukumaru with kunais in their hands, while the original began performing a new set of hand seals. The first of the 4 clones received a direct hit from one of Fukumaru's katanas. The second's clone attack was deflected by the very same blade and the third's was blocked with the well-known sword. The 4th clone cut from the side. At the very same moment when the kunai reached Fukumaru's body, the swordsman changed into a wooden pail. Kawamiri, thought Naruto, as he finished the chain of hand seals. But it'll take more to defeat me than some primitive techniques, and with that thought the set of seals was complete and the whisker-marked kid called out, "Fuuten! Arai Degeki!" Suddenly the air surrounding him began to circle rapidly and a powerful tornado went straight at the place where Fukumaru appeared. "That technique," thought Tenten, covering her eyes. "It's similar in strength to that sand girls who defeated me during the Chunin selection exam." "A wind jutsu?" thought the swordsman as the wind blown him away and smashed him against a wall. So he's familiar with techniques from outside Konoha as well. If that's the case, I guess I should reveal my abilities as well, and with that he began performing a new chain of hand seals. Sweden. Sudai Tsunami. Before anyone knew it, all three clones of Naruto that charged at Fukumaru were wiped out by a powerful tidal wave that came from behind the swordsman. He was saved, 'cause the wall he was standing behind created a small, dry space. What a technique, though Shino. But I thought there is no Konoha clan which mastered water jutsus. Seeing the oncoming water, Naruto instantly began performing the chain of hand seals, and right before the tidal wave reached him, he called out, "Doden! Ishisakisho!" And a huge wall of stones came from underground right in front of him, saving him from the tsunami. Hey! He channeled his chakra into the ground and used it to pull up the stone in a way they would create a blockade, thought Fukumaru, as he began to perform a new set of seals. This guy's better than I thought. While still behind the stone wall, Naruto began performing a set of hand seals of his own. As he stepped out of his shelter, he yelled, "Fuuten! Ketatamashi K's," and before Fukumaru noticed, a powerful, spinning wind, formed in a spike was coming straight at him. As his stomach was pierced by the wind spike, Fukumaru's body turned into a puddle of water. Mizu Bushin. Naruto's eyes widened with surprise, as the real Fukumaru appeared right behind him, ending a new set of seals. Suiru no Jutsu, and instantly Naruto was trapped in a big bubble of water. That technique, Sakura thought to herself, but didn't that Zabuza guy use that jutsu against Kakashi-sensei? "Looks like this is the end," announced Fukumaru, holding his hand in the bubble. "I win." "Really?" asked Naruto with a grin on his face, as he disappeared in a cloud of white smoke. Another Kage Bushin. Fukumaru's eyes widened. "But where's the original?" asked Choji, looking around. "Over there," Ino pointed to the top of a nearby building. Naruto stood with his right hand in front of him, in which a ball of blue chakra started to form. The chakra that was accumulating surprised everyone, except Tsunade, who started to look worried. "What?" was all Kiba could say. "What in the world is that?" Naruto jumped down with the chakra ball in his hand and charged at Fukumaru. Seeing that, his opponent grabbed one of his swords, performed few, quick hand seals, called out, "Mikazuki no Mai," and instantly three Fukumarus appeared in one's place, charging at the whisker-marked kid. As both of them were closing in on each other, Tsunade entered the space between them and grabbed Naruto by the wrist of his hand that was holding the Rasengan and Fukumaru by the one holding the sword. Before any one of them could react, the Godem sent both of them flying away from each other. Fukumaru was able to land on his feet and just slid a few meters. Naruto on the other hand landed hard and rolled on the ground for a few seconds before he came to a stop. "I believe that's enough," announced Tsunade. "Whether you like it or not, you're both leaf shinobies. Moreover, from now on you're on the same team, so grew up and live with it." "Yes, Tsunade-sama," replied Fukumaru, bowing. Yeah, whatever," nodded Naruto without showing any respect to Konoha's Hokage. "Anyways," continued the Godem, ignoring the blondes, "I want to see all of you tomorrow at 9 in the morning at the East Gate. Once you're there, you'll meet your Junin-sensei for the time of the tournament. Dismiss." And with that commend Konoha Genins scattered. "This is going to be extremely troublesome," whispered Shikamaru, as he headed back to his own home to pack for the coming trip. Choji began to pack his bags. From the very beginning, he threw lots of potato chips bags into them. "I see you haven't changed that much, Choji?" The chubby ninja heard a voice coming from behind. He turned around to see Shikamaru standing in the door with just a small backpack, propped on his stick that he was always carrying with himself. "Is it bad that I like to eat?" replied the Akamichi heir as he packed few more bags of chips. "Besides, who are you to talk? Are you seriously just taking what's inside this backpack if you're on such a trip? You don't know when you'll come back. And what's the point in packing so much? You'll need to carry it all around, that would just be too troublesome. Both boys smiled under their noses, as Choji stared at the starry sky through the window. We haven't really changed that much, have we, Shikamaru? He asked his friend, not even turning his face to him. You're still a lazy bump and I'm still the heaviest leaf genin. That's not entirely true, replied the Nara heir after a short silence. It's just that the difference is not so visible, that's all. Maybe you're right, said Choji, turning his head, but I intend to prove to everyone how much I've grown during that tournament. You just watch me. I'm not gonna let you take the spotlight this time. Shikamaru just lowered his head and smiled slightly. The boy that was sitting right in front of him wasn't the same chubby glutton as he once was. Come on, he replied, raising his head. I'll help you pack the rest of your stuff. Fukumaru was sitting on one of the rooftops in the center of Konoha. He observed the night sky and didn't even seem to pay any attention to anything else. Naruto appeared on the same roof and began to walk closer to his new teammate. Just what do you want? Asked Fukumaru, without even looking at Konoha's loudest ninja. I just came here to talk, replied Naruto. You know, we're on the same team now, so. I have nothing to speak with you about, Fukumaru interrupted. We'll be on the same team, but that doesn't mean that we have to like each other, especially since our goals are totally different. What do you mean? We're both going to protect Konoha's reputation. I couldn't care less about Konoha's reputation, replied Fukumaru. I'm going to that tournament only to see a certain person. I'm pretty sure I'll find a trace of that person there. What the hell? You're a leaf shinobi. How can you not care about your village reputation? I'm a leaf shinobi, repeated Fukumaru, turning his head towards Naruto. This is new. Listen up, bonehead. I am not leaf shinobi, and the forehead protector I'm wearing on my head doesn't mean much to me. And more importantly, I don't feel the need to tell you more about myself. We are only teammates, not comrades. The only comrades I had are either dead or hunting me. Now, if you excuse me, I need to pack my stuff for our journey, and with those words he jumped down from the roof. He's not a leaf shinobi, Naruto thought to himself as he stared at the place where Fukumaru was standing just moments ago. So why? Punching bag dummy went into pieces as Lee landed another hit on it. With a little smile on his face, fuzzy brows began to do sit-ups. As time passed, his beloved sensei, Maeda Guy, appeared on the training area. Ah, my student, it's good to see that the flame of youth still burns in you, yelled the Junin. Guy sensei. Lee yelled back, why have you came here? I hope the news I came here to tell won't put down your flame of youth, but I'm afraid I won't be able to accompany you this time. Why's that? Guy sensei. The Junin that was chosen to come with you is not me. At those words tears run down Kakashi's rival face. Lee, I'm so sorry. At that he embraced his subordinate and Lee returned the hug. After a while they broke up and Guy put his hand on Konoha's Azure Beast shoulder, saying, but remember this, Lee. Even if I won't be there, I'll still watch over you. Remember that the reputation of the whole village lies in your hands, and I'd also like to give you a final warning. Lee, remember that technique I taught you lately? Yes, Guy sensei. Fuzzy brows saluted. Do not use it, under any circumstances. But Guy sensei, promise me, Lee, promise that you won't even think about using it. I promise, replied Lee after a moment of hesitation. Good, stated Guy, surprisingly quietly, and now I believe you should be packing your stuff. There was a knock on the door. The Hyuga heiress turned her head towards it, asking, who is it? Hinata-sama, it's me, she heard Neji's voice. May I come in? Yes, please, she replied and got back to packing her bags. Why have you came? Shouldn't you be preparing for the trip as well? I've already packed everything I need, he said in response. I came to see if you need any help, Hinata-sama. I'm fine, Neji-Nisan. I've finished as well, and with those words she closed her bag. The silence fell between them as Neji observed his cousin with a concerned look. Hinata-sama, he finally spoke up, are you sure you want? I'll be fine, Neji, she replied, without even looking at him. This time I won't run. This time I'll prove my worth. The Hyuga genius looked at the young heiress for a moment and he couldn't help it but smile. He walked forward the window and watched the stars. She changed, he thought to himself. She changed a lot, and how much have you changed, Naruto? Kiba was lying on the rooftop, staring at the stars when Akamaru came and started to lick his face. The young Inuzuka smiled a little and put himself back on his feet. You are excited as well, aren't you, Akamaru? He asked, stroking his dog. We won't be defeated so easily this time, are we, boy? The dog just barked loudly as yes, Sakura was finishing packing her stuff when Ino came into her room. So, you're going after all, she smiled. Do you really think you can win? Ino, pig, I've been training with Tsunade-sama, replied the pink-haired Kunoichi. I won't lose to you, nor that I plan losing to anyone. You sure are confident in yourself this time. Looks like this whole tournament is going to be fun. I can't wait, and with those words Ino smiled under her nose. Yeah, me neither, said Sakura, returning the smile. Tenten was packing the last of her throwing weapons into her backpack. She then took a glare at her wall on which many types of shinobi tools hang. From typical kunais and shurikens to exotic katanas and even axes. She then turned her head to her bed on which a strange scroll was lying. She walked closer, picked it up and stared at it for a moment. Should I really take you with me? She asked herself and with hesitation turned to her backpack. Will I really need you? Shino was finishing his dinner when his father came into the kitchen. He gave his son a welcoming wave and seat right in front of him. There was silence for a while, before the elder Aburame spoke up. So tomorrow you're going to the Tiger Challenge, aren't you? Yes, replied Shino with a nod, without even looking at his father. You know, I took part in it as well, when I was around your age, exactly 20 years ago. How that time flies. And how was it? Asked the young Aburame in a typical for himself way. For one thing, it was difficult. My team actually only made it till the half of the tournament, before we failed. But none of the Konoha teams made it till the final test then. Most of the Leaf Shinobis haven't returned home that time. Killings allowed? Shino raised his eyebrow. Of course, replied his father. That is a shinobi tournament after all. Above the Chunin exam, it's the hardest test that young genins can participate in. Shino didn't answer that. His father looked at him, sensing that he got a bit nervous. But I believe in you, son, he said, putting his hand on the boy's shoulder. I know you'll make me proud, and with that a smile appeared on his face. Shino just raised his head and nodded after a moment of hesitation. I better get to sleep, he announced, leaving the kitchen. We set off first thing in the morning. Good night. With those words he bowed and headed towards his room. Tomorrow his new battle would begin. With the first sunrays falling on Konoha, young genins gathered at the east gate. Hinata and Neji were the first to arrive, but soon after many others appeared. The last ones to show their faces were Naruto, Shikamaru and Tsunade. And she told us not to be late, Fukumaru thought to himself at the sight of arriving Godem. Glad to see you all made it here in time, announced the only female of the legendary leaves. Hope you're all ready to set off, cuz in a moment your guide should be here. Once he'll show up, you'll head to the rain country. There you'll get on a ship which will take you to the island on which the tournament will take place. So this whole challenge won't take place on the continent? Sakura was a bit surprised. Since we'll be leaving from one of the ports in the rain country, that would mean we'll be taken to the neutral island. Now all we gotta do is wait for your guide to arrive, stated Tsunade and turned her head to the village, but no one was coming. I'm not a leaf shinobi, Fukumaru's words sounded in Naruto's head. So what are you expecting from this tournament? He asked himself, looking at his new teammate. Who is that person you want to find? Your Junin instructor for the time of the tournament should be here any minute now, repeated Tsunade, starting to get pissed. And time was passing by. Where the hell is he? Yelled Ino. Hokage-sama, don't tell me you chose Kakashi-san as our Junin guide. Of course I didn't, replied the Godem. And he can be sure that the moment he arrives, I'll beat him senseless. After a much longer while, their leader finally appeared. He had white hair and a ring in his nose. None of the genins spotted Konoha's forehead protector. Naruto, however, immediately recognized the man. Ero Sennin. He yelled. What the hell, he'll be our Junin guide. What, you don't like it, brat, replied the Toad Sennin, looking at the blonde genin. Jiraiya, come over here for a minute, asked Tsunade, and as the silver hair granted her wish, The fifth Hokage started to wipe the floor with her former teammate. Literally. Okay. Okay. Yelled Jiraiya as Tsunade's left foot kept stomping on his back. Sorry for being late. Young Genin's only sweat dropped at the sight. Anyways, said the Toad Sennin, while getting back to his feet. Seems that I'll be your guide for the time of the Tiger Challenge. You may call me Jiraiya, Jiraiya-sensei, Jiraiya-sama, Jiraiya-san, but I swear to God, if any of you call me Arrow Sennin, I'll kill him. Will you quit it, Arrow Sennin? Yelled Naruto. We should get going. We don't want to be late. The name's Jiraiya, damn it. When are you going to learn that, shrimp? This guy, thought Fukumaru, while observing the silver-haired man. Is he really one of the legendary leaves? He doesn't look much. And what's with that, Arrow Sennin stuff? At any rate, said Jiraiya, turning to his new subordinates. Sorry for being late, I need to gather some material before our trip. We'll be leaving immediately, so I hope all of you are ready, 'cause we're not going to be back for a bit. In case you'll have any questions, ask me directly. Now, is everybody ready? Yeah. Yelled almost everyone in unity, raising their hand to the sky. Everyone except Shikamaru, who was too lazy to even raise his hand with others, and Fukumaru, who decided he won't make an idiot of himself. Yes, even Hinata joined the rest. Well then, let's go, and with those words youth of Konoha followed their new sensei. Good luck, whispered Tsunade, watching as 13 shinobies headed north. You'll need it, and with those words she turned around to get back to the village. She still had a lot of paperwork to do today. And with that the second chapter ends. Hope you liked it. Please leave a review with your opinion. Also, since there's no jutsus to describe, I've decided to place a short story that just came to my head out of nowhere. It's pretty dumb, but maybe some of you will find it funny. Anyways, here it is. Omake. Naruto's nightmare. Finally I was able to save enough money in order to eat that new ramen flavor the bar owner kept talking about. Thought Naruto with a smile on his face. It's mine, all mine. As he walked through the village in the direction of his favorite ramen bar, Ichiraku Ramen, he bounced into Sakura, who just seemed to stand there, looking at some gallery. Hey, Sakura-chan. What's up? Oh, hi Naruto, she replied and got back to looking at the gallery. As the blonde genin followed her sight, he spotted a small, silver medallion. Oh yeah, now I remember, he thought to himself. It's that thing Sakura-chan kept talking about lately. It's not very expensive. I guess I could buy her that. I'll just eat few ramen bowls less than planned, and with that thought he entered the shop. As soon as Sakura received the gift, she jumped onto Naruto's neck and kissed him on the cheek. The loud mouth blushed deeply as he observed his teammate wandering off with the medallion on her neck. Now that's what you called well-spent money, he thought to himself as he rubbed the cheek Sakura kissed him. Counting the money he got left and making sure he still had enough for few bowls of the famous new ramen meal, his ways crossed with Shikamaru. Oi, Naruto, how's it going? Asked the lazy-ass shinobi, surprisingly lively. Pretty good, since I'm going to eat that new ramen meal everyone's talking about, and with that he shown him the money he was carrying. Man, you're lucky, I could use some greens, it's my mother's birthday and if I won't give her a good present, she'll be seriously pissed. I was hoping to get her those boots she wanted so badly, but it seems I don't have enough money. I need to get some fast or I'm a dead man. Hey, maybe you could lend me some? I'll pay you back as soon as I'll get my pocket money. Let's see, if I'd agree to that, I'd be able to eat only one bowl. Then again, he really does have a problem, and I can ask him to pay me back with accrued interest. And thus, giving Shikamaru the money he needed, Naruto continued his journey to the Ichiraku ramen stand, but just as he reached it, he spotted Hinata sitting on a chair and looking into her wallet. Hey Hinata, what's up? In Naruto-kun, replied the Hyuga heiress, blushing slightly. Hi. Is something wrong? Oh, no, it's just, well, seems I ate a little too much and now I don't have enough money to cover my B-bill. Naruto looked at girl who desperately wanted to find at least a bit more money in her wallet. Finally he left his on the table, saying, Here, you can pay me back later, and with that he went in the direction of the shop owner. Hey, how about you give me the bowl of that new ramen you have on credit? Sorry, Naruto, you know the rules, replied the man. That new flavor is the only me you can't get on credit. No, screamed the Whisker Marks kid, and with that he woke up in his own room. Instantly he broke his piggy bank and checked how much money he had. The amount of it was good. It was just a bad dream, he thought to himself as he took all the money and went straight to the Ichiraku ramen. Not stopping anywhere, he reached the bar and made his order. One bowl of that new ramen in the menu. The owner of the shop turned to the loud mouth and with a sad voice he replied. I'm sorry, Naruto, but we're out of it. I gave the last bowl to that kid, and with that he pointed at a nearby table. There Naruto saw Fukumaru swallowing more and more of his meal. As he spotted the whisker marks, he turned to his new teammate and with noodles falling from his mouth, he asked. What are you looking at, dork? It was then that all of Konoha was able to hear a scream, that sounded something like this. And that is that. Hope you enjoyed the story. I'll try to submit the third chapter soon. Take care and hope to see you when third chapter will be released. 4 people dressed in jet black robes and forehead protectors with a skull on them headed towards the rain country. While they were speeding through the forest, the one leading them, who was surely the oldest among the 4, gave them a signal to stop. The other 3 froze immediately as a wall of stone spikes came out of the ground just inches before the oldest one. The leader of the 4 looked around with his red eyes and after longer while he spotted another group of 4 standing near the place the stone spikes raised up. I guess you're the ones to blame for this, he announced, pointing at them. Just what the hell do you want? We do not have time to play with you. Yes, you're heading to the rain country in order to participate in the Tiger Challenge, aren't you? Replied the man in a black hood. His face was completely covered by it and the only thing that the red eyes could see were 2 eyes, shining purple from under the hood shadow. You're the only team from the Kaimei Gakure, right? If so, I'd like to ask you for your forehead protectors. If you'll give them peacefully, no one will get hurt. What the hell is this supposed to be? Asked the red eyes. You plan on taking our place? That is exactly our intention, responded the hooded man. You see, there will be people who present a special interest to me and my comrades. Unfortunately, we do not come from any village and thus we're not allowed to participate. But you're the only team from Kaimei in this year's tournament. If we were to take your place, no one would notice. But enough chit-chat. Will you give us those forehead protectors or do you rather die trying to keep them? You are underestimating us, butthead, replied the red eyes. It's 4 on 4 and I'm an elite Junin from the Kaimei Gakure. If you think that the 4 of you can defeat us, you're welcome to give it a shot. Oh, I do not intend to fight with you, announced the hooded man. Why waste my energy? I'll allow one of me subordinates to deal with you however. At this point he ordered one of his 3 comrades to step forward. The one to do so has taken off his hood, thus revealing a boy around 14 years of age with white hair and completely black eyes. His hands, as well as his mouth and most of his body from feet to his neck were covered in bandages. You send a genin to fight a Junin and 3 other genins? The red eyes was surprised. I hate to say it, but you're a terrible leader. The kid won't even last a minute. Look at his body. He took so much damage, it's surprising he's still alive. The boy just stood there, not moving an inch. Then, suddenly, he jumped right at the Kaimei Junin, but the red eyes instantly took out his kunai and stabbed the white-haired genin in a shoulder. The boy fell to the ground motionless. I hate cowards who make others fight their battles, announced Red Eyes, looking at the hooded man. Now it's your turn. And with that he jumped down from the branch he was standing on right at the purple eyes. But before he was able to reach him, the white-haired boy, who he just stabbed a moment ago, appeared between them. And as the night was getting darker, the forest was soon filled with human screams. Konoha genins arrived at their destination 4 days after they left the Leaf. The port in which they were supposed to get on a ship wasn't anything special. It was located in a small village with few wooden huts. The whole town was soaked in the smell of fish and that kinda annoyed Naruto, though Choji was delighted with it. Fukumaru on the other hand, didn't seem to care at all. There weren't any ships in the port, which surprised Sakura a bit, but she didn't pay too much attention to that fact. So, where's that ship that we're supposed to get on, Jiraiya-sensei? Asked Tenten after she looked around for any bout, but spotted none. We're few minutes too early, replied the Toad Sennin, looking at the watch on his hand. But it should appear soon. At any rate, you guys wait here for it and I'll go to town to gather some material. Yeah, right, yelled Naruto, pointing at the man. You're going to peep on girls. Jiraiya-sensei, But how will we know which ship are we supposed to get on? Asked Ino. Don't worry, replied the Toad Sennin. You'll know, and with that he was gone. And so the Leaf Nins waited for the ship to arrive. During that time more and more shinobies from different villages were gathering. After few minutes, the silence between the Konoha Genins was broken by a familiar voice. Uzumaki Naruto, good to see you again. The blonde genin turned around to see a short boy with red hair, carrying a gourd on his back. He was dressed completely black. Right next to him stood a girl with blonde hair, which were clipped into 4 ponytails. Fukumaru spotted a giant fan attached to her back but also a strange-looking, wavy blade located at her belt. Behind them stood a guy dressed in black with purple tattoos on his face and 3 scrolls attached to his back. Gaara, how've you been? Naruto jumped to his feet in an instant and walked closer to the Sand Nin. Killed anyone lately? No, I haven't, replied the Shukaku vessel, but don't think I've become weak. Hey, lazy butt, how is life treating you? Tamari gave Shikamaru a smack on the head. Until you gave me that hit on the head, I was enjoying life actually, replied the lazy Chunin. So you guys will participate in the tournament as well, How troublesome, I don't want to fight you or your brothers. Though luck, kid, announced Konkuro. 'Cause we plan on winning this event. Yeah, well, over my dead boy, yelled Naruto. I won't lose to you. So, who exactly are those guys? Fukumaru asked Kiba. They're Cage's kids, replied the dog ninja. We met them during the Chunin exam. They're pretty scary, especially that small one with the gourd on his back. I see, nodded the swordsman. Well, the fact is that redhead's aura is quite strong, I wonder, but his thoughts were interrupted by another voice that came out of nowhere. Well, if it isn't the Konoha shinobies. And would you look at that, even the dope came. Naruto recognized the voice immediately, as well as Sakura. They both turned around to see a raven-haired boy, wearing a black shirt and white pants. He was carrying a huge halberd on his back and a sound forehead protector on his head. Sasuke, the Kyuubi vessel said silently. Only then he spotted 2 other sound nins. The first one was a girl with long, red hair, dressed in black, wearing an eye patch on her left eye. The other was a huge boy, full of muscles, with messy, short, brown hair, dressed in green shirt and black pants, carrying a huge drum on his back. I see you're all here, continued Sasuke, looking around. Pity that we're the only team from the auto that'll participate in this year's event. But still, the sound will crush the leaf. And you even dare talk to us? Asked Neji, not paying much attention to the sound nins. You betrayed us, so unless you want me to end your life, go away. You think you'd be able to do that, Hyuga? Replied Sasuke with a smirk on his face, and then, suddenly, he jumped right at Neji, picking out his halberd. Neji instantly went into the gentle fist-style stance, but before he could take any action, Sasuke's halberd was stopped by another blade. As the former Leaf Nin looked to his right, he spotted a certain Konoha shinobi, holding the sword that blocked his weapon. And you are, Nadare Fukumaru, replied the swordsman, and this is not a place for something like this. I have to agree, Sasuke-kun, came a voice, and soon after a certain, silver-haired shinobi with glasses on his nose and the sound forehead protector on his head appeared. You'll have plenty of time for that during the tournament. Can't we have even a bit of fun, Kabuto-sensei? Asked the guy with a drum. That's not what we're here for, Gunko. Do not forget that, replied the glassed guy. Besides, our ride's already here. With those words he pointed at a ship that was boarding to the docks. The ship was huge, almost as big as a village. The front was decorated with a tiger's head cut from wood. As the ship stopped moving, all the shinobis started to get on board. We should go as well, announced Kabuto. Naruto-kun, I wish you luck in the tournament. You'll certainly need it, and with those words we began walking to the ship, and the boy named Gunko soon followed. We'll finish this later, stated Sasuke, putting away his weapon and walking after his sensei. You should watch out, whispered the female sound nin to Fukumaru's ear. Sasuke-kun is strong. And anyone who gets in his way, ends in terrible way, and with that she ran after her teammates. So that was the Uchiha prodigy, asked Fukumaru, putting away his katana. To be honest, he didn't seem to be anything special. And who are you to talk like that, Fukumaru? came a new voice. The Konoha shinobies, along with the Sand siblings, turned to the direction the voice came from and saw 3 ninjas from the Kirigakure. The boy in front was their age, he had spiky, blonde hair, only a bit longer than Naruto, left ear pierced with many golden earrings and was carrying a long sword on his back. He was wearing a black shirt with a yellow waistcoat on it and long, gray pants. What caught the Leaf Nin's attention was a cross scar on his left cheek. The girl that stood next to him, only a bit further, had medium length, blonde hair and blue eyes. She wore very short, black skirt, knee-high, black boots and a black, sleeveless top. The last one of the 3 was a boy with long, blue hair, clipped in a ponytail. He was wearing a black shirt with a kanji symbol for water on its back and white pants. Naruto also spotted a small bottle of water attached to his belt. "What a coincidence seeing you here, Fukumaru," said the girl. "And with a Konoha forehead protector, have you really left the mist for good?" So that's what he meant, Naruto thought to himself. He's a mist nin. "And what is it to you, Renge? Is that a way to talk to old friends?" asked the blonde, Mist Nin. "You know, we're still bond together. I see that you still even have that scar I gave you." With those words he pointed to the cut that came through Fukumaru's eye. "Yeah, I do," he replied. "So what, you still carry the scar I left you too?" "Say, Fukumaru, old buddy," Kiba leaned on the swordsman's shoulder. "Who's the chick?" With those words he pointed at the blonde girl. "Yes, tell us, Fukumaru-kun," yelled Lee. "Come on, don't be like that, answer," begged Choji. Fukumaru's eye twitched as he replied, "She's my sister." Hearing that, all 3 Leaf Shinobis backed away, sensing an urge to kill blooming inside the swordsman. "How rude of you," announced the female Mist Nin. "Why won't you introduce us to your new friends?" "Fine," replied Fukumaru. "That girl over there is my younger sister, Nadare Renge. The guy with the scar on his cheek is my old-time rival, Arashi Shinku, and the one with blue hair. Okay, I'm pretty sure we never met before," he said, looking at the 3rd Mist Nin. "The name's Umizu Hyson," replied the blue hair, "and it seems that it's my lucky day. I'll get to fight the Nadare heir, almost a dream come true." "No you won't, Hyson," said the one called Shinku with an ordering tone. "We're not here for Fukumaru, though it is convenient that he'll be participating in the event as well. We're here to win the Tiger Challenge. That's our main goal, do not forget that." "You sure are confident," announced Naruto. "But I'll give you a piece of advice. Do not underestimate us. We're stronger than you think." "Perhaps," replied Shinku. "Guess we'll find out during the tournament," and with that he turned to the swordsman. "I wish you luck, Fukumaru. I'm really looking forward to the rematch. Only this time, I don't think anyone will interfere. Especially since Ichi is not among the living anymore, but you know that even better than I do." "Shinku-kun," yelled Renge. "I've asked you not to speak of him when I'm around." "You're right," nodded the blonde Mist Nin. "Sorry, anyway, I believe we should get going now. I see you on the tournament, Fukumaru," and with that all 3 Mist Nins headed towards the ship. "What did he meant by that?" asked Shino, when the Mist Nins were far enough. "I do not think this is of your concern," responded Fukumaru, looking after the Kirigakure shinobis. "Let's just say that it's something that should be finished for a long time." "I see that we'll have many strong opponents this time," announced Gaara, turning to the Leaf Nins. "But I guess it is to be expected from an event that gathers genins from around the world." Gaara-kun," Hinata said shyly, looking at the Sand Nin. "Are the other, hidden sand teams strong as yours?" Gaara glanced at the pale girl and after a moment of hesitation, he replied, "I don't know much about other Suna teams, but there is one that you should be on a lookout for." "What do you mean, Gaara?" demanded Naruto. "Don't get so excited, brat," ordered Temari. "It's not like we have any specific information about them. But there's this cell led by a guy with long, black hair who wears a jet black robe. We don't know anything about their abilities, but I've heard that up till now they completed hundreds of missions, and most of them were B-rank ones." Some of the Konoha genins shivered hearing this, but Shikamaru only yawned, saying, "How troublesome. Well, unless you guys expect any more old friends to show up, maybe we can just get on that damn ship?" asked Kankuro, getting a bit pissed. Fine," replied Naruto as he headed towards the bout. "Sasuke-kun," Sakura thought to herself. So you really decided to betray us? Sakura-chan, are you okay? Asked Hinata, putting a hand on pink-haired Kunoichi's shoulder. You look like you're worried by something. I'm fine, Hinata, she replied. Let's get on that ship. Meanwhile, most of the shinobies were already on board. A trio carrying grass forehead protectors were looking at the port. The first one was wearing red clothes. He had a short, messy, black hair, carried a huge scroll on his back and his eyes were closed. You could also spot a tiny lizard sitting on his shoulder. The other one was a girl with long, brown hair clipped in a ponytail. She carried a long katana on her back, had blue eyes and was wearing a white shirt with black waistcoat on it and long, blue pants. Her right palm was hidden in a snakeskin glove. The last one of the three was dressed green. He had hazel eyes, medium length, black hair and was carrying a huge medallion with 12 golden balls on it. As the leaf and sand nins made their way to the ship, the one wearing the medallion glanced at them as his left hand started to shiver. Is everything all right, Fugato-san? Asked the girl with concern in her voice. Yes, it's all right, Ayame, replied the male with a smile. I guess I'm just excited. Really? Asked the other boy with his eyes still closed. Are you sure it wasn't something else? Yes, I'm sure, responded the one called Fugato. But that feeling, could it be? As Naruto and the rest of the Leaf Nins entered the ship, a team of 4 shinobies in black hoods were stopped by a shipguard. Who are you? We're here for the tournament, replied the oldest man, leading the 4. We're the team from the Kaimei Gakure, and with those words he took of his forehead protector and gave it to the guard. The man examined it closely and after spotting the skull on it he allowed the 4 hooded shinobies to enter the bout. As they did so, the eyes of their leader shone purple and a big smirk appeared on his face. The ship left the port. The Leaf Shinobies and the Sand Siblings looked at the open ocean. The greatest challenge of their lives has just began. After 3-day trip the ship reached a huge island. As Naruto gave it a quick look he spotted a giant volcano in the center of it, surrounded with few other, smaller mountains. The coast was a beach covered with golden sand, but a little deeper into the island there was a jungle in which grew many types of trees. As the ship got closer the Kyuubi vessel spotted a huge, stone building that kinda looked like a temple. It was around the size of the ship, but much higher. Above the main entrance to it there was a stone head of the tiger. When the ship reached the shore all the shinobies headed to the building led by few of the ship guards. Sakura looked around to see some of the contestants. She spotted the group of sand nins marching in front of them and other Konoha shinobies. There was Gaara and his team and a little to the left she noticed a man her age with long, black hair, dressed in a jet black robe. He was the one that the Sand Siblings talked about. As she turned her eyes to his teammates she spotted a shorter person. Most likely a girl. With long, blue hair clipped into a big bun, wearing yellow dress and a muscular-looking man who had spiky, black hair and his hands were completely covered with bandages. As she looked to her right she noticed the 3 mist nins that they already met along with 3 other mist teams walking close to them. She also tried to spot Sasuke, but she wasn't able to. Probably he and his team walked at the end. There were teams from every country. Some from the stone, rain, grass, cloud, even from smaller and not so well-known villages like the Hidden Mountain or Lake. As they entered the building, they end up in a huge hall. The roof was supported by many columns and on the other end of the hall there was a platform on which few, older-looking men stood. They wore forehead protectors but there was no symbol on them. Well, this is where we separate, announced Jiraiya quietly. You guys listen to rules and prepare yourselves cuz the tournament will begin any time now. Jiraiya-sensei, Tenten stopped him in his tracks. When do we get to see you again? Well, if you guys will make it till the last test, I guess we'll be able to meet up again then, and with those words he was gone along with all other Junins. When all the Genins finally entered the hall one of the men standing on top of the platform walked forward. He had medium length, red hair and was carrying a katana on his back. His left eye was pierced with an earring and he was wearing red shirt with wide sleeves and white pants. Welcome to Tora Island, he said out loud so that all the Genins gathered in the hall could hear him. My name is Hanasu Age and I'm one of the examiners for this year's Tiger Challenge. Beginning today you'll take part in the tournament. During the few coming days we will test all of your basic shinobi skills. We'll check how good your teamwork is, your information gathering skills, the ability to survive in the wild, and of course your individual strength. During the time you're on this island, you'll have to obey my orders and the orders of other examiners, who are standing on the platform. All the genins looked in the direction he pointed, except Shikamaru, who was too lazy to lift his head up. In case you're not aware of that, let me tell you that you carry your village reputation with you. Villages that will have their representatives in the final test will be considered as strong and will earn great respect. The village of this tournament winners will thought to be the strongest among all hidden villages and will surely get more missions and so on. The point of this challenge isn't really that different from the Chunin selection exams organized throughout the world, but I'll tell you this right now. It's way harder here. You will not only have to fight against the shinobies from the allied countries but also from the villages you don't even know. And killing is allowed all the time, so even after the first test some of you might end up dead. Age looked around to see their reaction at his words. Some of the young genins gulped hearing that, some smiled under their noses. He just smiled a little and then continued. Before we start the first test, I'd like the leaders of every team to walk forward and pick a number from the box that I have in my hands. With those words he showed a medium-sized box with a small hole on top of it. Once every team will get their number, the tournament will officially begin. Now, may the team captains please walk forward? The first to walk out of the crowd were Sasuke, Gaara and the black-haired Sand Nin that the Sand siblings kept talking about. Soon after, more and more genins headed towards the box in order to take a number. Sasuke was the first to draw a number. Please tell me what number you got and which team you're on, asked Age as another man appeared right behind him with a little notebook. Number 74, replied the Uchiha prodigy. The captain of the Otogakure team, consisting of Uchiha Sasuke, Akado Baita and Kiniku Gunko. The man with the notebook wrote that down and soon Gaara picked a number for his cell. Number 55, the team from the Hidden Sand consisting of Sabaku no Gaara, Tamari and Konkuro, announced the Shukaku vessel as he walked back to his siblings. A boy with white hair and a forehead protector with a skull on it observed the red head with his black eyes, after which he reached for a number for his team. Number 31, team from Konoha Gakure, consisting of Tenten, Hyuga Neji and Rock Lee, announced the Hyuga genius as he looked at the number he'd drawn. Number 193, the captain of the Hidden Leaf team Inuzuka Kiba. My teammates are Hyuga Hinata and Aburame Shino, said the dog ninja as he smiled under his nose. Go already. Shikamaru, Ino begged her teammate. One of us has to pick a number. It's too troublesome, replied the lazy shinobi. Besides, why'd I have to do it? Shoji's stronger than me. He should be the leader here. You got the brains. You go, convinced the chubby ninja, and you're a Chunin after all. I'm not going, stated Shikamaru, but at the very same Ino used her primary technique on him and headed for the box. You asked for it, she thought to herself as Choji grabbed her real body. Number 986 feet announced a bald man in a monk-like, green dress and an Iwa forehead protector. Captain of the Iwa Gakure team, consisting of Jishi Barato, Shida Sume and Gosei Kendo. You know, one of you guys should go and fetch the number as well or you'll be disqualified, the pink-haired Kunoichi heard a voice from behind. As she turned around she spotted a grass nin with hazel eyes, black hair and a medallion with golden balls on his neck. Right behind him stood his two teammates. It would be a shame to fail because of that, and with those words he walked towards the box. He's right, yelled Naruto as he began to walk right after the man, but then he was stopped by the blade of one of Fukumaru's katanas. I'll go, he announced, and without waiting for his teammates' reaction he walked forward. Who the hell does he think he is? Yelled Naruto with an urge to kill. I'll kick your ass for this. I'm the leader of this team. You hear me? And once he said that, he felt a punch on his head. Would you just shut up? Asked Sakura with a grim face. If Naruto was your leader, you guys would be in big trouble, laughed Kiba at the sight. Kiba-kun, don't say that, Hinata asked shyly. Number 258, the team from Konoha, consisting of Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji and the beautiful Yamanaka Ino. Came a voice from Shikamaru's mouth. She just couldn't help herself, could she? Thought Choji with a sigh. Number 343, the team from Kirigakure, consisting of Nadare Renge, Arashi Shinku and Umizu Hysen, announced Shinku as he walked past Fukumaru, who almost reached the box. I hope you'll pick the number that will allow us to have our rematch. I'm counting on you, he whispered into his ear and walked back to his teammates. Fukumaru reached for the box in order to draw a number. As he looked at the sheet, he announced. Number 13, team from Konohagakure, consisting of Haruno Sakura, Nadare Fukumaru and Uzu, something Naruto. After a few more people the drawing was finished. Age put away the box and turned to all the genins. Hope you remember what number you have. Now we will leave the hall, but before we do that I'd like all of you to look up there. He pointed above the platform, and it was only then that the gathered shinobis noticed a big screen. The two teams that numbers will appear on it are to walk into that room. With those words he pointed at the small door. And the tournament for them will begin. No matter their result of the test, they will no return to this hall. What awaits you behind those doors? Well, that is for you to find out. I wish you all good luck. That is all. Since this moment, the Tiger Challenge has officially started, and saying so he disappeared in a cloud of white smoke. I wonder what's the first challenge? Sakura thought out loud. Well, they ask two teams to enter the room at the same time. I suppose the answer is easy to figure out, replied the grass nin with the medallion. Who are you guys anyway? Asked Naruto, looking suspiciously at the three shinobis. Right, forgive my manners, the man bowed and announced. I'm Jutai Fugato. The girl with the brown hair is Hisaki Ayame and the one with the lizard on his shoulder is Tokage Kosha. Hi, Ayame said with joy, waving her hand. Nice to meet you. Hello, replied Fukumaru. I'm Nadare Fukumaru, that is Haruno Sakura, and the loud mouth is, what was your last name again? It's Uzumaki Naruto, damn it, yelled the Kyuubi vessel. Can't you remember something that simple? You're simple, responded the swordsman, not paying much attention to his teammate. Naruto was about to throw a punch at the former Mist Nin, but in the very same time a loud bing was heard and all the genins turned their heads towards the screen. There, on it, two numbers were shown. 343 and 877. The team of Shinku, Renge and Hyson walked forward the door along with a team from the Kusagakure. As Fugato looked at his grass comrades, he let out a sigh. Those Mist Nins are in big trouble, he announced. We know those three. They're pretty cruel, and moreover, the one with the green hair is a member of one of Kusa's strongest clans. I think it's those grass nins you should be worrying about, replied Fukumaru with a calm voice. No matter their strength, I'm positive that it's the Mist team that's going to pass. But let's leave that topic. Why are you so friendly with us? Just because we're rivals doesn't mean we can't like each other, right? Asked Fugato. And besides, it's better to make friends than enemies, yelled Ayame, jumping at the swordsman's neck. Wouldn't you agree, Fuka-kun? Suddenly another bing was heard and another two teams walked towards the door. The first fight is over already? Shino seemed a bit surprised. One of those two teams was way stronger than the other, that's the only possibility, figure Lee. But it is surprising, genins gathered here are the best in their villages after all. That still doesn't change the fact that some teams are much stronger than others, reminded Tamari. Remember that villages do not represent the same level, and a team that is thought to be strong for one village can seem extremely weak for another. That's true, nodded Sasuke. Back when I still was a leaf shinobi I actually thought that you were strong, Lee, he said, pointing at the Konoha Azure Beast. But now that I look at it, your level isn't that high really. You know, people who are as confident as you can be divided into two groups, announced Fukumaru. They're either really strong or really stupid. I wonder which one of those are you in? If you're trying to provoke me, then you're bound to fail, replied the Uchiha prodigy. If I would be able to provoke you, it'd mean you're not worth the time. Shinobi must always remain calm, otherwise he'll be defeated. Then their conversation was interrupted by another bing. Our turn, yelled Ino with excitement. Come on, let's go. Good luck. Lazy Bones Tamari gave Shikamaru a small smack in the head. Yeah, replied the lazy ninja. Whatever, and with those words he picked up his stick and followed his two teammates who were already at the door. Their opponents were the team from the hidden waterfall. Their leader was a huge man carrying a heavy hammer. Right next to him stood a tiny girl with long, blonde hair, holding a teddy bear in her hands. The last of the three was a guy with a pumpkin on his head and a pack of knives attached to his belt. "Just brats," announced the guy carrying the hammer with a smile on his face as he observed the Konoha team. "Shouldn't take too long." And with that both teams exited the hall. Kabuto, silver-haired sound Nin heard a voice coming from behind him. "What is it, Jiraiya-san? Why is the Auto team here? What does Orochimaru plan this time?" "What are you talking about? Hidden Sound is still a shinobi village. We have the same right to participate in such tournaments as you. Besides, it's a good opportunity to make the potential clients notice our village. We are still a very young hidden village, in case you have forgotten." "Somehow I don't believe you," announced the Toad Sennin. "I'll keep my eye on you." "Do as you wish, but you'll be only wasting your time. I think you should be worrying about your subordinates." The first test already began. "I sure hope they'll be able to pass at least that one. It'd be a shame for Konoha if none of their shinobies would make it to the second test." "I wonder if Ino and her team made it through this test," said Sakura out loud. "You shouldn't be worrying about lazy bones," replied Tamari with a smirk. "That fatso and the girl are with him, they should be fine." "This is getting boring," announced Naruto. "When's our turn?" "A shinobi should be patient," responded Fukumaru, not even looking at the blonde. "Our team will appear on the screen eventually. This challenge has only just began, and even if we were to fight next we would still have to wait for other teams to finish this round before we begin the next, idiot. Those guys aren't acting like teammates at all," Fugato thought to himself as he observed the two Leaf Nins. Suddenly a loud bing was heard and all the eyes turned to the screen, which shone 13 and 719. Our turn, yelled Naruto as he jumped up and down. "Good luck," Gaara said quietly to the blonde. "H hope you won't have trouble winning," said Hinata shyly. "Don't worry, we'll kick ass whoever had bad luck of running into us," and with that reply the loudmouth smiled to the Hyuga girl, which caused her to blush slightly. Fukumaru observed the whole scene and then turned to Sakura, whispering, "Is that dope blind?" "Maybe," replied the pink-haired Kunoichi. "But it's better if he would figure that out on his own, I guess." "Being a bird brain he is, I doubt he ever will," responded the swordsman. "Which is kinda sad, that white-eye girl is kinda cute." "Leave it for now," asked Sakura. "We have a match," and with that she walked towards the door with Fukumaru close behind. "So there are opponents?" asked the first Mist Nin with red hair and hazel eyes, wearing a black t-shirt with a brown waistcoat on it and black pants. He also carrying a huge, metal ring on his back. "If I'm not mistaken, that blonde with the katanas is the missing Nin from Nadir clan, right?" "Looks like it," replied the girl with long, black hair clipped in a ponytail, wearing a brown and red dress. "This could be interesting." "What's interesting?" asked a boy with black hair and blue eyes, dressed purple and carrying a large scroll on his back. "Defeating them shouldn't present much problem. Especially with your skills, Kato." At those words he looked at his male teammate. "Don't underestimate the Nadir," responded the redhead. "Anyways, the blonde with those swords is mine," and with that the three Mist Nins headed through the door. As they went through the door, they entered a large room with a wide ring in the middle of it. Age already stood on it and moving his hand he invited both teams to enter the ring. As they did so, he placed them on two ends of it and announced, "The first test is a 3-on-3 battle. One team versus another. You guys must do your best in order to win and advance to the next challenge. Remember that you advance as a team. If one of you dies or is seriously injured, you'll not be allowed to enter the second test. Now then, you can use any weapons or jutsus. When one of the teams will be knocked out or die, the match is over. You may begin as soon as I'll say, start. Just stay out of my way and I'll finish this quickly," announced Fukumaru, looking at the loud mouth. "Tell you what, you stay out of my way and you won't get hurt," replied Naruto. "By what? Your stupidity. Those two hate each other," sighed Sakura. "This is bad." "Start," called out Age, and instantly both Konoha blondes charged at the Mist Nins. Before they knew it, the Mist Kunoichi launched tens of kunais and shurikens right at them. Fukumaru instantly took out his swords and deflected all the weapons that flew at him. Naruto, on the other hand, acting on instinct, jumped into the air and performed Kage Bushin. In a fraction of a second the clone grabbed the original and tossed him at the Mist Nin that was carrying the scroll. The scroll carrier instantly bit his finger and with few, quick hand seals, he slammed his palm to the ground, yelling, Kachiyose no Jutsu, and right before Naruto's eyes a huge, black bear appeared and smashed his big arm at the blonde, sending him flying back. Fukumaru was still charging at the mist ninjas when he noticed Naruto coming right at him. The swordsman instantly sidestepped and avoided crashing with his teammate. He looked back after the other blonde, but that was just what the one called Kado needed. In the fracture of a second he launched a kick in Fukumaru's gut. The attack connected and the leaf nin flew back, landing hard right next to Naruto, whose wounds were already healing with the help of Sakura's medical jutsu. That pink head is a medic nin, noticed the mist leader and then turned to his teammate, who was carrying the scroll. You shouldn't summon Kurigumaru so soon, Kumaro. That brat surprised me, replied the other mist nin. Guess I panicked. Well, no harm done anyways, the brats are weak. I thought I told you to stay out of my way, announced Fukumaru, turning to Naruto. If it wasn't for your screw-up, I'd already taken down one of them. Just shut up, yelled back the loud mouth, Fukumaru-chan. You have a death wish, brat? Asked the former mist nin, aiming the blade of his katana at the other blonde. You're the same age as me, Pinhead, reminded Naruto. They seriously hate each other, thought Sakura a little frightened. The hooded man with his eyes shining purple was walking through the halls of the waiting building where all the Junins awaited the results of the first exam. Suddenly he stopped and without even turning around he said out loud. What are you two doing here? I thought this was my assignment. You don't seem to be that much interested in it, noticed the taller man, also wearing a hood that covered with face. The hood had red clouds all over. You could also easily spot a huge sword wrapped in bandages that the man carried. Aren't you curious about your subordinates, Banrai? It's not like they'll have any problems in passing the first test, replied the purple eyes. Besides, they shouldn't uncover themselves now, it's better to wait for later tests. I just hope you won't forget why you were sent here, announced the sword carrier. Was the number correct? Asked the smaller man, also dressed in the hood with red clouds. It seems we miscalculated, responded Banrai. I know of at least one extra that I was not informed about. Who? Asked shortly the sword carrier. She's from my village, that's how I know, replied the purple eyes. But it's not said that the count stops there. We'll leave it in your hands, for now, announced the smaller one. But with what you said, it seems we should stay close. Gathering so many at once is convenient. Do as you wish, replied Purple Eyes. And do tell Shaburu that I wish to speak with her. We'll do that, ensured the smaller one, and with that the two were gone. Fukumaru picked up his katana and charged at the mist ninjas. Naruto soon followed. The blonde aimed his sword at the mist leader's head, but before the blade connected, it was blocked by the metal ring that Kado was carrying. Fukumaru retreated his blade immediately and then attacked again, this time from the right, however that attack was blocked as well. The former mist nin kept on charging, but all his attacks were deflected by the red head. How can he move such a big thing so fast? Wondered the blonde as 5 Naruto clones ran past him and were attacking the one on the bear. Kumaro began performing a quick chain of hand seals, and once he finished, he took a deep breath and called out, Hyochu. Instantly water came out of his mouth and immediately turned into ice, forming it into a trail of ice spikes. All of Naruto clones weren't able to stop before it and got pierced with the icicles, thus disappearing in a cloud of white smoke. Before the loud mouth could notice, the mist kunoichi jumped into the air and launched several kunais and shurikens at him. Acting on instinct, he jumped to the left, but as soon as he did so, he was rammed by the bear shinobi. But as the blonde was sent flying back, he grabbed Kumaro by the hand, thus making him fly with him. As Naruto's back hit the ground, the loud mouth propped his leg on the mist nin's stomach and flipped him over. But as he got back to his feet, he was instantly stabbed in several places by the shinobi tools and then kicked in the gut by the mist kunoichi. Kumaro is right, announced Kado as his ring blocked Fukumaru's katana once more. You guys are weak, and with that he began performing hand seals with his left hand only. What? Fukumaru's eyes widen. Single-handedly. Hijutsu. Hyoki no Jutsu, and as he said it, cold air began to surround the swordsman. Before he could react in any way, his whole body was filled with small, ice needles, Imagine ice senbons. Every part of his body became numb and he wasn't able to dodge the attack launched by Kado. With a cut through his stomach, left by Redhead's ring, Fukumaru landed hard at Sakura's feet. Naruto soon joined both of them as he received another hit from the mist kunoichi. "You think Naruto has any chances?" asked Kiba, as he looked over his companions. "Theoretically," started Shino, but he was interrupted by a certain, sound Nin. "That dope is too weak," replied Sasuke, not even bothering to open his eyes and look at the dog shinobi. "But that other blonde's with him, so maybe he'll get lucky this time." "Naruto-kun won't lose," yelled Hinata, surprising everyone. True, at that they all turned to Fugato, who said this. "I don't think those two can lose in such a fight. They don't act like teammates though." "Naruto will win," announced Neji calmly. "He became strong." "Yes," yelled Lee. "The spirit of youth burns bright in him, Fukumaru-kun as well." "And there he goes, making us look weird," sighed Tenten, yet couldn't help but smile at her teammate's comment. "No point in talking about it," stated Gaara. "Once his match is over, we'll know." Then Kankuro noticed that his sister had a concerned look on her face. "You're worried about that idiot, aren't you?" "Who, me?" Tamari gave him a look like she wanted to kill him. "What do I care about that skinny idiot, who keeps saying that everything is troublesome?" "Hey, she won't show her emotions, the puppeteer thought to himself. She became more like Gaara over the years, and with that he smiled to himself. "Well, it seems that the result of this one could be decided already," thought to himself. "Damn it," cursed Fukumaru as he pulled out another ice needle from his leg. "These guys are better than I thought." "Or maybe it's because you're extremely weak," Naruto insulted the other blonde. "Watch your mouth, pipsqueak, or you might lose your head," replied the swordsman. "Enough," yelled Sakura, giving them both a smack on the head, thus gaining their attention. "When are you guys gonna stop arguing? We're teammates, for crying out loud. Can't you see that there's no way you're going to beat them unless you're going to work together?" The two leaf nins looked at each other for a while and then stood back up slowly. "There's no way in hell I'm going to fight side by side with that idiot," announced Fukumaru. "Same here," nodded Naruto as both of them got to their fighting stances. "They're never going to learn," sighed Kado. "I overestimated you, Nader." "Kado-kun. They're not surrendering," noticed the mist kunoichi. "Can we finish them off now?" "I guess," replied Kado. "But let's not overdo it." Suddenly Naruto launched his shurikens at the mist nins. The female stepped forwards and threw her own weapons, thus deflecting all the shinobi stars thrown by the loud mouth. And before she knew it, Fukumaru was falling on her from above, with his swords ready to attack. Luckily for her, Kado blocked the assault with his ring. As Fukumaru's feet touched the ground, Kumaro on his bear attacked him from the left. Acting on instinct, the blonde began blocking the claw's attacks with his swords. But after a moment he received a powerful kick in the back from the red head. As he fell to his knees, the bear aimed at his head, but it was then that the furry beast a powerful blow in the stomach. The blow of a blue, chakra sphere. As the black bear disappeared in the cloud of white smoke, Kumaro's eyes widened. A second later Fukumaru jumped out of the white smoke and gave the mist nin a hard kick in the face, which sent him flying back and crushing hard on the ground. Not wasting time, the swordsman began to perform a new set of hand seals, as the mist kunoichi aimed her kunais at Naruto's back. But before she was able to throw them, she heard Fukumaru yelling, "Suiden! Suiryuden no jutsu!" And suddenly a large, water dragon went straight at her. The dragon went right through Naruto and then hit the kunoichi hard, sending her flying. The redhead's eyes widened even more seeing this, but as Naruto's body disappeared in the cloud of white smoke with a familiar puff, he instantly understood what was going on. The mist kunoichi hit the floor hard on the other side of the ring, then her bear teammate Kado just stood there, looking at Fukumaru, who was smiling. "Well, it's obvious that the other blonde sent in a clone to help you, but being a mist nin I know that Dragon Blast requires a huge amount of water to work," announced the ring user. "How were you able to perform it?" "Quite simple really," replied Fukumaru. "You're right about the clone part. But you also should know that the original Naruto wasn't resting while I and his clone were battling. He's a leaf shinobi after all, so it's only natural he knows some fire jutsus." "Don't tell me that," Kato instantly figured it out. It's only your fault you guys know such advanced water jutsus, continued the swordsman. It's rare to see anyone being able to use water jutsus when there's no water close. Thanks to your friend for using Hyochu, I got enough water for my techniques. I simply melted down the ice pillars created by the bear boy with a basic fire jutsu, announced Naruto, drawing Kato's attention. That's how Fukumaru got enough water. So after that pink head yelled at you, you guys were only playing, you don't intend to work together, finished the red head. Clever. I thought you guys are weak, but seems that I was wrong. Seems that I can have some fun during this fight yet. Indeed, nodded Kumaro, getting back to his feet. On the other side of the ring, the female shinobi was doing the same. Fukumaru and Naruto backed away and stood next to Sakura. Then Kato began to concentrate his chakra and Fukumaru's eyes widened at the feeling. This guy, he thought to himself, it can't be. And with that the 5th chapter in concluded. Please leave a review with your opinion when you're done reading. Also, because I wasn't able to update for so long, I have a special treat for you guys. Both character profile and a new omake. Also a humoric one, of course. The Jutsu Encyclopedia is only obvious. Hyochu, Ice Pillar. This jutsu use isn't that much different from the Uchiha Gukaku no Jutsu. The user first gathers chakra in his mouth and then, with the help of the right hand seals, release it in the form of water. However, also due to the chakra gathered in the mouth, the temperature is taken away and thus the water freezes the moment it leaves the user's mouth, thus creating the trail of ice spikes. Hijutsu. Hyoki no Jutsu, Forbidden Skill. Ice Age Skill, a forbidden jutsu used by Kato. The user first gathers chakra in the whole body in the points he can release it into the air and then, with the right hand seals, he ejects it from his body in the form of the mist. But it's not a typical mist. It lowers the temperature of the air and, since the mist is still partly a chakra, forms small, ice needles from itself. The needles then search for another chakra source, which usually is another shinobi. This technique is extremely powerful, but also extremely hard to master. Suiten. Suiryuden no Jutsu, Water Element. Water Dragon Blast Skill. In the main this jutsu is used by both Zabuza and Kakashi, also the second Hokage if I recall correctly. The user gives his chakra to the water and with the help of the right hand seals shapes it into a large dragon, created by the huge amount of spinning water. Then the dragon is sent at the opponent. It can be performed only near a large body of water. Omake. The audition. So, again, why do you want this job? Asked Shang, looking at a weird boy dressing red with black hair and a monkey tail coming out of his pants. I know martial arts and I think I'd be suitable for it, replied the boy. Mr. Son Goku, what do you know about ninjas? Well, they have this, chakra and stuff. We'll call you, replied Shang, showing the boy he can leave. That's already 20 guys, if this keeps up I'll never find a guy to play one of the main characters in the story. The poor writer sighed and asked another candidate to enter. My name is Saotome Ranma, announced a boy with black hair clipped in a ponytail, wearing a blue dress. I know few kung fu styles and in every room I'm able to find at least 10 objects that can be used as weapons. I see. Any experience? I played the main part in Ranma 1/2, replied the boy. Well, this guy seems to be suitable enough, thought Shang, looking at the boy. Would you like some iced tea? I think I'll pass, you know, after coming in contact with cold water I kinda change into a woman, and with that he gave the writer a weak smile. I knew there had to be a catch, sighed Shang as he asked another candidate to enter. I'm Monkey D. Ruffy, announced a boy with black hair, wearing a straw hat. My goal is to become the king of pirates, but to do that I'll need money for the ship so I've decided to take this job. I can stretch my body beyond limits, because it's made out of rubber. This is new, thought Shang. I can use that to invent some cool jutsus, and so, with hope, he asked. Do you have any experience? I play the main part in One Piece. Good references, nodded Shang. I think you have big chances in getting the job. Great, yelled Luffy. So, how much will I get? Didn't you hear that you shouldn't talk about payment during the audition? Oh no, sighed Shang. Tell me, do you know who Kishimoto Masashi is? Huh? Who's that? What's the capital of England? What is 2 plus 2? Wait, I knew that, "We'll call you," said Shang, smashing his head on his desk. Luffy joined Ranma and Goku, who were still sitting outside the office. They all observed as a certain blonde with spiky hair and green eyes, carrying 2 katanas on his back and a kanji symbol for hyena, walked in Shang's office. "Good luck," yelled Goku after the boy and turned to his companions. "So, what do you think?" "He doesn't stand any chances whatsoever," replied Ranma. "Yeah, he's going down," nodded Luffy, "and I'll just leave that without any comments." Kado began to concentrate his chakra and Fukumaru's eyes widened at the feeling. "This guy," he thought to himself. "It can't be." Renge was propping herself on the edge of the balcony and looking at what seemed an endless forest that surrounded the building they were in. She didn't even turn around when she senses someone coming. "What is it that you want? You're thinking of him again, aren't you?" Shinku responded with a question. "Yeah," she replied after a short moment. "You know, the day after tomorrow it'll be exactly 2 years since he died, Fukumaru's birthday, an irony." "I guess you can say that," nodded the blonde. And then there was silence, broken by Shinku after a while. "I never really told you how sorry I am about what happened that day." "It wasn't your fault," interrupted Renge. "It was Fukumaru's fault, it always was, and I'll never forgive him what he did." "We should get going," announced Shinku after another short silence. "Yeah," admitted the younger Nader as they both went into the building. "That ability," began Fukumaru as he looked at Kado. "You're from the Jigen clan. I see you still remember few things about the hidden mist," responded Kado with a smirk. "But how can this be?" asked the swordsman. "Your clan, it said it was completely wiped out, so how come you're—" "I'm very much alike you and your sister," replied the ring user. "The last survival of one of the hidden mist's greatest clans, of course. Our case is a bit different from the Nader." "Last survival?" wondered Naruto as he stared at his new teammate. "Meaning he and that blonde girl are the last of their clan?" Then he turned to the Mist Nin. "Hey, you. What the hell are you talking about? How come you two are the last survivals?" "Hey," Kado only smirked. "If you'd know Kirigakure's history, you'd find out that in the past people who gained special abilities due to their genes weren't treated too well in our village, my clan. The Jigen died due to the fact that in every generation few were born with a unique jutsus, something that could be used only by us. I was the only survival, but the case of your teammates' clan is different. Their bloodline limit was even scarier than ours, so scary that no one dared to get in their way. However, about 2 years ago their clan was almost completely wiped out, and with that his smile widened even more. "What the hell are you talking about?" asked Sakura. "What happened?" "I can understand why you didn't told them, Nader." Kado turned to face the former Mist Nin. "I'd be ashamed too, though. There's something I'd like to ask you. Tell me, how does it feel to be the one responsible for your own clan's destruction?" "Say what?" Naruto's eyes widened at hearing that. "Shut up," ordered Fukumaru, holding back his anger. "Just because of you, just because you killed him," continued Kado. "How sad." "Shut up," repeated the swordsman. "How does a murderer of his own clan feel? Tell me." "Shut up," yelled the former Mist Nin as he charged right at the ring user with his katanas ready. Kado instantly prepared his ring and so the blades clashed once more. Fukumaru attacked with fury, but the redhead Mist Nin calmly blocked all of his attacks. Suddenly the ring user jumped into the air and after performing a quick set of hand seals, single-handedly, he aimed his ring down. The Mist Nin lowered his weapon so that it formed a ring around Fukumaru. Sorry if this part isn't that clear, I'm not sure how I should write that in English, and as the ring was slowly going from the top of the swordsman's head to his feet, both Naruto and Sakura observed as the former Mist Nin just disappeared. "What the hell?" was all the loud mouth could say before the whole room was filled with Fukumaru's screams of pain. "What did you do?" "That's Kado-kun's bloodline limit," announced the Mist Kunoichi. "Your friend is now trapped in a place where he receives thousands of slashed every minute. Eventually he'll die from either pain or bleed to death." "You shouldn't reveal Kado's secrets so freely, Zaira," reminded Kumaro. "Well, it's not like it'll help them in any way," responded the girl. "You can't escape from that jutsu." Fukumaru's screams were getting more intense by the minute. Finally the screaming stopped and both leaf nins froze in the places they stood. "Is Fukumaru-kun began Sakura, but couldn't finish the sentence. Then Kato moved his gigantic ring and all of a sudden Fukumaru appeared, rolling on the floor with many cuts all over his body. The leaf Kunoichi instantly went to check if he's still alive and left out a sign of relief, noticing that the blonde swordsman was still breathing, though barely. The pink-haired girl immediately began healing her wounded comrade as Naruto stood between them and the mist nins. He gave the redhead an evil glare and took out a kunai. The kunoichi stepped forward and picked out a strange sword, which blade, extremely thick, seemed to be separated into few sections. Zyra smirked under her nose and swung the sword at the blonde. To Naruto's surprise, the blade separated in places which were the borders of each section. Each part of the blade was attached to others with a solid-looking strings, thanks to which the sword could be used as a whip. Sorry if the description isn't that good. To make it clearer, I could say that the sword Raiji from Bleach uses is quite similar to this one. Before he knew it, Naruto had to jump into the air to avoid a direct hit and landed on one of the blade sections. As the blade was getting back to its original shape, the blonde charged at the mist kunoichi, using the blade as a path. However, before he was able to reach Zyra, Kato jumped right in front of him and performing the same seals that activated his bloodline, he aimed his ring at Naruto. To everyone's surprise though, as Kato launched his attack, someone grabbed the leaf nin and landed safely with him, away from the ring user. As the redhead looked in their direction, he noticed Fukumaru, without any wounds on his body. That pink head is that good? He wondered as he took a glare at the leaf kunoichi. What was that? Sakura asked herself, looking at her two teammates. His wounds, with my level of healing jutsus he shouldn't be able to recover yet, so how? Above surprise, Fukumaru's interference didn't do much to Kato's posture. However, as soon as the blonde turned around to face the ring user, Mist Nin's face shone fear. The swordsman's eyes changed. The pupils were now much thinner, but also way taller. They resembled cat's eyes. He actually activated his bloodline limit, Kato thought to himself as he backed away few steps. Is he insane? Doesn't he remember what happens to those who use Torrigan? What the hell are you doing, Nader? He yelled once he located himself near his teammates. You know what happened last time you used your bloodline? You wish to take that risk? Torrigan? Naruto gave his new teammate a puzzled look. Sorry, Kato, began Fukumaru. But this ends now, and with that he launched himself right at the mist nins. All his opponents jumped out of his way. While she was still in midair, Zyra took out her kunais, but before she could throw them, Fukumaru turned to her and as the mist kunoichi released her knives at him, Naruto and Sakura eyes widened. None of the weapons flew near the swordsman. The blonde charged at the terrified weapon mistress, who picked out more kunais and threw them at him again. Once more none flew in the direction Fukumaru was coming. Moreover, the swordsman grabbed few knives that were flying next to him and threw them back at Zyra. The kunoichi covered her face with her hands as the knives were getting closer, but before they could reach the girl, Kato appeared in front of her and deflected the all by placing his ring in the right way. With the Torrigan activated, we stand no chances against him, the redhead thought to himself, as he was rammed by Fukumaru who didn't slow down once the kunais he threw were deflected. Only one way to force him to deactivate it, and with that he performed few, quick seals. Hijutsu. Chakra Sabaki. Instantly his ring was filled with chakra once more. As he threw it right at Fukumaru, the blonde kneeled under the disc flying above his head and felt his chakra being sucked dry at the very same moment. The ring acted like a boomerang and flew right back to Kato. The redhead grabbed it and looked at the former Mist Nin. His eyes were back to normal. Seems it worked. The Mist Nin let out a sign of relief. Now we have to finish this quick, before he'll be able to activate those eyes again, and with that thought he turned to his comrades. Playtime's officially over. Formation Omega. Both Mist Nins smirked as Kumaro bit his finger again and performed Kachiyose, summoning a big, black fur bear. Zyra on the other hand activated a mechanism in her gloves and thus steel claws appeared on her hands. Let's go, ordered Kato as all three charged at the leaf nins. The redhead run in the middle, to his left was Zyra and on the right Kumaro on his bear again. As the bear rider came closer to Naruto, he picked out a long halberd and aimed its blade at the leaf nin's head. The loud mouth instantly performed his specific jutsu and called out, Kage Bushin no Jutsu, and in the place of one blonde there were now 7. As soon as the Mist Nin came close enough, the first clone jumped right on the pike. That resulted in the bear rider lowering the halberd, which blade stuck in the floor. That confused the Mist Nin for a moment, but that was enough for the blonde. More clones charged in, kicking the bear master higher and higher. New clones yelled, Uzumaki, and when the distance between the floor and the Mist Nin was large enough, the original whisker marks came from above and kicked him in the back of his head, thus sending the Mist Nin crushing into the floor. Once the kick connected, Naruto finished the move by saying, Naruto Renden. When Kumaro hit the ground, the impact was so big, it made he bounce from the floor for few centimeters. That was the time for the last clone to take action. As soon as the Mist Nin flew up again, the last Naruto instantly located himself above him and landed a hard kick on the bear master's back. The Mist Shinobi crashed to the floor once more, only this time he lost his consciousness. Meanwhile Fukumaru's katana and Kato's ring clashed. The blonde spun around and cut from the right, however the redhead just needed to move his weapon slightly to block the attack completely. The swordsman kept pushing, but the Mist Nin was able to block all of his attacks. Finally the redhead deflected another one of Fukumaru's assaults, which resulted in Blonde's losing his rhythm. As his katana slid on the ground, Kato performed a quick set of hand seals and young Nader Air once more could felt chakra filling the ring. As the Mist Nin's weapon was coming down on him, it was suddenly stopped by someone's leg which located itself between the swordsman and the ring. It was Naruto. Kato instinctually turned his gaze upon the one who interrupted him. It was only a fracture of a second, but Fukumaru needed just that. He instantly drew his second sword and cut the redhead's side. When the blade got into the Mist Nin's body, the swordsman quickly started shaking his hand, thus making the wound deeper. The redhead yelled in pain and jumped back, but that was what Naruto was waiting for. His clones instantly jumped after, and while Kato was still in midair, unable to dodge or block, the blondes unleashed a storm of punches and sent the Mist team leader into unconsciousness. Sakura was backing away, doing her best to avoid the Mist Kunoichi attacks. Zyra was charging in fury, swinging her swords wildly, when suddenly one of her blades was stopped with another. As she turned to look at the new opponent, she noticed Fukumaru holding both his katanas. Zyra only smirked and attacked the former Mist Nin. Their swords clashed many times, when finally the blonde was able to press both Zyra's swords to the floor with his own blades. The Mist Kunoichi tried to free her swords, but with no effect. She raised her head at Fukumaru, who only smiled and suddenly sidestepped. Zyra looked in front just in time to spot Sakura's fist crushing her face and sending her flying back. The weapon mistress hit the wall hard and broke right through it. What the? Fukumaru's mouth almost dropped to the ground. This girl got issues. Age instantly entered the ring and after giving the Mist Nins judging glares, he announced, the victors of this match, Konoha Team number 13, Haruno Sakura, Nader Fukumaru and Uzumaki Naruto. Why the hell am I last? Asked Whisker Marks disappointed. It's alphabetical, Pinhead, replied the swordsman. As for the result, continued Age, it's time to announce that both teams are qualified for the second test. Come again. Naruto's eyes widen. How is that? Asked Sakura. As I announced at the beginning of your fight, replied Age. This is a team tournament. I only said that the match ends when one team is unable to continue the fight. However, I didn't exactly say that those who will win the fight will get to participate in the second test. This exam was simply to test your teamwork. You wouldn't pass it if you'll act as individuals, just like you did at the beginning of this match. This explains why no team was allowed to get back to other participants, noticed Sakura. Since both teams can pass this test, as well as fail it, those who still had their fights in front of them could figure out what it was all about, and even if they're not for teamwork could trick the examiners. Preciously, nodded Age. And the way the exam is now, all you could figure out was that it's team battle. In a shinobi world your teammates are the only ones you can rely on during missions. Acting on your own can bring death not only to you, but also your comrades. Keep that in mind when you'll enter the second test. Hearing that, the Leaf Nin exchanged smiles. Now, please walk through that door and wait patiently for this test to finish. The second exam will begin tomorrow. The Leaf team walked forwards. The door Age pointed and used it. They wasn't thinking about tomorrow. All that was important to them at that moment was the fact that they just successfully began the Tiger Challenge. They passed the first test. Naruto stood in front of his teammates. They were now in a huge hall, filled with other participants of the tournament. Those gathered here were all who were able to pass the first test. To Naruto's right was the team led by Kiba, and a little more to the right he spotted Guy's team. And further to the right stood the team of the lazy Chunin. All Konoha shinobies pasted the first test. To their left was the team of Shinku, Renge and Hyson from the mist. Next to them stood the team Naruto's team had to face during the first exam. As the whisker marks looked around a bit more, he noticed Gaara's team standing at the far end of the hall. Next to them stood the other, Sand team. The one the redhead was telling them about. Dekatsu, Kanpu and Gokibori recalled the blonde from the previous day when the one with long, black hair introduced him team to the examiners. As he kept looking around, he also noticed Sasuke's team, as well as the grass nins they met yesterday. A little they didn't know was that a certain, black-eyed boy glared at them as well. Right behind him stood his two teammates. The first one was a girl with medium length, blue hair falling on her face. She was wearing a black shirt with short sleeves and wide pants in the same color. The other one was a boy with long, blonde hair, clipped in a ponytail. He had green eyes and was wearing a white shirt with a black kanji symbol for paper in front. His pants had short trouser legs and were deep blue. He also carried a huge scroll on his back. The only one who noticed was Shino. Why is that black eyes staring at Naruto? So many passed. Shikamaru thought to himself. How troublesome. Then he just sort of started wondering. Haven't I said that somewhere before? I'm starving, complained Shoji to himself. And it's almost time for the second meal after breakfast. I knew I should leave at least one bag of potato chips for later. Hey, look, Ayame whispered to Fugato, who was standing in front. Fuka-kun and his team made it here as well. The grass nin only glared in the direction she pointed and smiled slightly under his nose. Seems that those brats are better than I thought. So, those Konoha blondes pasted too, Beida thought to herself. Sasuke-kun should be pleased. Naruto-kun made it as well, Hinata smiled to herself. That's great. At first I'd like to congratulate all you, passing the first test. Announced Age as all eyes turned to him. I wish you luck in the coming exams. Now I'll introduce the examiner for the second test, and with that a cloud of white smoke appeared next to him and soon after a man with medium length, black hair, clipped in a ponytail kinda like Shikamaru with sunglasses on his nose, dressed in yellow overcoat with a kanji symbol for sun on its back revealed his presence to the genins. My name is Yamato Taiyo and I'll be the examiner of the second test of the Tiger Challenge, he announced. The rules of this exam will be different from the first and thus I can tell you what the second test will be all about. At first we'll randomly choose 4 teams out of those who pasted the first exam. Those teams will follow the other examiners to the starting locations. The area this exam takes place is a huge palace located in the center of the forest. The goal of this exam will be to check your information gathering skills. So what are we supposed to do? Asked Neji, a little annoyed. I was just getting to that, replied Taiyo. When 4 teams enter the area, we hide 4 scrolls in it. Your mission will be to get a hold on at least one of those scrolls. The scrolls are something like a ticket to the third exam. One team needs only 1 scroll, however nothing stands in your way to collect all the scrolls and that way be sure to eliminate 3 teams that enter the area with your team from the tournament. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure how this is supposed to prove we can gather information, began Tenten, but she was quickly silenced by the examiner. Quite simple, the scrolls will be well hidden. However, throughout the whole area there will be hints as to where the scrolls are hidden. The team that will get to the hint first may memorize it and then destroy it, thus making it harder for other teams to find the scrolls. However, the team that has good information gathering skills can still find out where the scroll is hidden in many ways. Also, just following the team that knows where the scroll is and then take the scroll by force is allowed, but in order for that to work you must figure out which teams know the location of scrolls, otherwise you'll be just wasting your time. Your information gathering skills are tested in many ways during this exam. So this is still a team-on-team test, whispered Fukumaru to no one in particular, and with such rules, it seems that there may be deaths during this exam. You're not scared, are you Fukumaru? Asked Shinku with a smirk on his face. The former Mist Nin didn't answer. Now, Let's pick the first participants, and soon the screen showed the teams that were to take the test as first. There were 1 Hidden Sand Team, 1 team from the Yamagakure, 3 Tree Nins and a team of Iwa shinobies. The Stone Nins were led by the same, monk-looking guy that drew a number 986 for his team the previous day. His teammates were both males. The first one was a guy with long, black hair, falling all over him. He had his mouth covered with some black shawl with a strange symbol on it. He was walking on both his legs and hands, and Naruto also spotted gloves with long claws on his hands. The other Stone Nin was a tall guy with his mouth covered with a mask in the way Kakashi covered his, only his mask was brown. He had short, spiky, black hair. He wore black shirt with short sleeves and a red waistcoat on that. He also carried the biggest sword the Loud Mouth has ever seen. The rest of you may rest for now, announced Taiyo. Soon your teams will be called as well, and with that he was gone along with other examiners. How unlucky that we didn't manage to test ourselves in the previous test, stated Hyson as he turned around to Fukumaru. Maybe we'll get the chance this time? Hyson, stop, asked Shinku. No point in scaring the weaklings. This is kinda funny that you're the one to say this, Blue Hair, announced the swordsman, looking at the Mist Nin. Especially since you're the weakest on your team and you're no match for me, Renge. Shinku, I advise you hold that idiot back, before he gets himself killed and you'll find yourselves without a teammate. Why you, began Hyson, but was instantly stopped by Renge. Calm down, Pinhead, ordered the young Nadir. My brother wants to make you angry, and if you allow him to do that, then you'll be sorry. Wait for the proper time. So, you guys made it here as well? They all heard a familiar voice, and as they turned around, they spotted 3 grass nins. The one talking was Fugato. I have to say that defeating that grass team is quite an achievement. My congratulations, and with that he reached his hand in front. Thanks, replied Shinku, grabbing the hand. But we'll be going now, though I'm still awaiting our rematch, Fukumaru, and with that the 3 Mist Nins walked away. Good to see you made it here, lazy ass, announced Tamari as she rubbed her fist on Shikamaru's head. Seems that the leaves still have all their participants. Yeah, even Endless Forehead made it, noticed Ino when her team joined them. Of course, what did you expect? Replied Sakura, acting tough. Well, the Sand lost 1 team already, admitted Konkuro. But it's not really that important. The worst one from Suna is still in the game, and with that he looked in the direction of Dekatsu, Kanpu and Gokibori. After this test there won't be any weak opponents anyway, reminded Kosha. Everyone that will advance to the next test is certainly strong and should be feared. And that's a good thing, yelled Lee. 'Cause our young spirits have to face challenges so we could advance. Worthy opponents is something that we must face. And there he goes again, sighed Tenten. Fuzzy brows is right, nodded Naruto. Only with strong opponents everyone will be able to see my awesomeness. Only with those idiots can people see how dumb Konoha shinobis are, sighed Fukumaru, while looking around. His sight froze for a moment on Sasuke, who caught his glare. For few seconds they had a staring contest, which they both ended at the same time. Only then did the swordsman notice a black-eyed boy looking at them. As soon as he noticed Fukumaru's glare, the black-eyed turned around and began talking to his teammates. Kiba sensed that something's wrong and whispered to his fellow, Leaf Nin. What's going on? I'm not sure, replied the former Mist Nin. But nothing you should worry about, I guess. Then a familiar bing was heard and 4 new teams headed towards the door. One of them was the Sand team led by the one called Dekatsu. Seems that this one won't take long, assumed Gaara, as well looked after the Sand Nins. Time went by and more teams entered the exam. Sakura counted the number of participants who already finished the second test, but she lost count around 50. Gaara and his siblings, along with Fukumaru's old team, were already called, yet none of the Konoha teams was asked to enter the exam place. What if we'll have to fight against each other? Worried Hinata. You shouldn't be worrying about that, replied the former Mist Nin. I heard few things about this tournament, and the rules claim that 2 teams from the same village won't be forced to fight against one another unless they won't have opponents from other villages. It's likely possible that we'll get to enter the second exam in the same time. But this is boring, yawned Naruto. Why doesn't anything interesting happen? And just as he finished that line, A sound of thunder could be heard in the hall and the flash of light blinded them. Well, most of them. As they regained their sight, they noticed a team of cloud nins standing above a team from Aim-Gakure. All the rain nins were lying on the ground motionless. Calm down, Psycho-chan, a boy their age with spiky, silver hair and blue eyes asked his teammate. He was wearing a violet dress, little similar to Kakashi's, but with no mask, and carried a long stick on his back. Fights outside the exams are forbidden, we can be disqualified and you know that Reikage-sama won't approve that. Give her a break, Shinrai, another boy, 2 or 3 years older than the first, cut in. He was bold, had blue eyes and a tattoo of a thunder on his forehead. He wore a black shirt with short sleeves and a red waistcoat on it. He also had long, black pants and a huge axe attached to his back. Let the girl have some fun. Ryu, you remember what happened last time she went out of control? Asked the silver hair. So, instead of throwing dumb comments, help me calm her down. The third cloud nin, a female with long, blonde hair, yellow eyes and was wearing a similar shirt to Tenten's, only hers was white. She also had knee-length, black pants. The cloud Kunoichi was breathing heavily as she looked at her teammates. Finally, after a long while, she seemed to calm down a bit. The silver hair let out a sigh of relief whereas the bold guy didn't seem to care much. Did she alone defeated those rain nins? Asked Ayame a bit frightened. That's what it looks like, replied Fugato. I wonder, what do you think, Kosha? Perhaps, answered the other grass nin without opening his eyes. But you're the one who should know better than I. From behind a boy with black eyes observed the whole scene. Fugato noticed that, but decided to ignore him, for now. An interesting show, announced Sasuke, propping against the wall at far end of the hall. That cloud Kunoichi, facing her might be interesting, looks like she scared most of the people gathered. That only proves that they're impressed by simple tricks, replied Genko. Wow, that girl is strong, thought Ino, looking at the blonde Kunoichi. She wiped the floor with those rain nins, noticed Shikamaru. That's why I think women are troublesome. Kiba looked at his dog which began hiding behind his master. She's that powerful. The heir of the Inuzuka gave Akamaru a questioning glare and then turned to the cloud nins once more. Sorry everyone, began the silver head as the Kunoichi calmed down completely. We didn't meant to scare anyone, right, Psycho-chan? The blonde looked at her teammate and after a short moment she replied silently. Sorry. Damn, what's her problem? Naruto asked himself. You saw that? Asked a boy with medium length, gray hair, clipped in a ponytail and gray eyes, wearing a gray overcoat with green top. He had gray pants and was carrying a sword on his back. He had the rain headband on his left arm. That cloud Kunoichi just defeated Hizaro's team with that much ease. Why are you so excited about that, Kosame? Asked another rain nin with short, violet hair and white eyes. A little like Hyuga have, but not the same. He was wearing a simple, violet shirt and gray pants. His hite 8 was on his forehead and you could spot 3 wooden umbrellas located on his back. It's not like Hizaru and his teammates were especially strong. Still they made it here, reminded a girl with medium length, black hair, wearing a blue kimono with flowers on it. She had violet eyes and had her forehead protector located in the same place Sakura wore it. Besides, you saw what she did, that was impressive. You two were just easily impressed. Interrupted the violet head. You could take her out, if you wanted to, Ayakao-chan. Still we should keep an eye on them, announced the one called Kosame. She might be dangerous. One weirder than the other, concluded Naruto as they got back to their spot. A bunch of weirdos, that's who the participants of this tournament are. Like you're the one to talk, responded Fukumaru and before the loud mouth could answer him, another bing was heard. This time the scene showed. Teams. 13, 76, 125, 887. Finally our turn. Yelled Naruto with joy but he instantly shut up as he saw who their opponents will be. There was a team from the Hidden Rock, Hidden Lake and most of all a team of Cloud Nins, the same they met just a moment ago. The Cloud Kunoichi threw them a death glare, which sent shivers down Sakura's spine. I have a really bad feeling about this, she announced as her two teammates just looked after the blonde Kunoichi. This is going to be harder than the first test, Fukumaru thought to himself as his team finally headed towards the door. For them the second exam has just began. Taiyo finally stopped walking, so the teams that followed him froze in their steps as well. They were now in the middle of a round area with quite a few trees and bushes, a lot of rocks on the west, and Fukumaru was able to hear water running on the south. Okay. From here on you'll follow the Junins to your starting points. With that he pointed at the top of a nearby mountain, on which stood 4 men. Team 76, hearing that the stone nins stepped forward. This way, ordered one of the Junins as he began walking north. Next were the Lake Nins, who were guided west, then Cloud Nins headed south. Naruto and his team were sent to the east, right after the last of the 4 Junins. Once they reached the location, the examiner announced, "In a short while you'll hear a bell. That will be the beginning of this test. When the bell rings you'll have an hour to get the scroll. If you'll find your scroll, just get back here. Good luck," and with that he was gone. After a short wait the bell rang and instantly the 3 of them ran towards the mansion in the center of the area. "Why are we heading there?" asked Naruto. "It's quite simple," replied Sakura. "The mansion is the best place to hide any hints about where the scrolls are hidden. Plus it's big that I'm positive that at least one scroll is hidden there. And it's also a place where sooner or later one team is going to appear," added Fukumaru. "That way we'll be able to get the scroll from them, if they'll have any, that is." But he quieted down immediately as they all saw an explosion in the west wing of the mansion. "What the?" began Sakura, but before she could finish, Fukumaru replied, "It's probably that Cloud Kunoichi, we should stay away," but then he noticed Naruto heading in the direction of the explosion. "Pinhead, what the hell are you doing?" But Naruto wasn't listening. "That dope," sighed the swordsman as he followed his teammate. Soon after Sakura joined them, Taiyo appeared in the waiting room and instantly all the eyes stopped at him. "Due to the time that is required for one group to finish this test we decided to open 3 more arenas," he announced. "From now on accept the numbers of teams. Also the information about which arena you'll be sent to is going to appear. So let's draw new participants, shall we?" And soon the screen shone. Arena number 2. Teams 31, 462, 118, 889. Arena number 3. Teams 77, 619, 690, 719. Arena number 4. Teams 23, 81, 433, 901. "Our turn," yelled Kiba in satisfaction as Akamaru barked loudly on his head. "Could you keep it down?" Shino asked his teammate. "You're drawing attention to us." "Naruto-kun will surely make it," Hinata said to herself. "I must do my best too." "May your spirits of youth bloom," cheered Lee. "Good luck," shouted Ino after them. "How troublesome," said Shikamaru, who was standing next to her, covering his ears as soon as his teammate's voice roamed in his head. That one single phrase earned him a smack on the head, naturally. Fugato didn't pay much attention to the whole thing. What drew his eyes was a certain black-eyed boy who was heading with his teammates to the 3rd arena. The grass nin narrowed his eyes as the white head sent him a quick glare. "His chakra is unusual, isn't it?" asked Kosha silently so that only Fugato would hear it. "Yeah," replied his teammate. "And those eyes, I'm not the one who you can scare easily, but this guy sends chills down my spine." "What are you guys whispering about?" asked Tenten as she suddenly turned to face them. "Nothing really," responded Fugato with a fake smile. Neji noticed that, but decided to stay silent. "It's just that, those mist nins are the same that Naruto-kun and his team fought during the first test, right?" The weapon mistress only nodded. "Well, I got curious how strong they are, that's all." "They're probably stronger than they seem, since they made it here," announced Choji with his mouth full of potato chips. "We should watch out for them." "Where did you get that bag of potato chips?" asked Ino, sweat dropping. "There's a snack bar just around the corner," explained Ayame as she reached out for Choji's bag and took out few chips. "Their prices aren't that low, but it's still bearable." "Since when Choji allows anyone eat his chips?" wondered Shikamaru as he observed the grass kunoichi. Then he looked at the black-eyed boy who was entering the arena. So they were interested in this guy. What's so special about him? As Naruto and his teammates reached the place of the explosion, they saw a very familiar scene. The lake nins were laying here and they're motionless. Sakura noticed that they were still alive, but just barely. The blonde kunoichi was standing between their bodies, breathing a little hardly, but above that unharmed. The bold axeman was sitting on a nearby rock, holding a golden scroll, and the silver head was looking right at them. His face didn't give out anything. That was pathetic, announced the boldy. I didn't even get to try out my techniques. Psycho, could you please leave at least one conscious next time? Reikage-sama isn't gonna like this, said Shinrai with a little fear in his voice. At this rate she'll lose self-control once more and then we're screwed, and only then did he really turn his attention to the leaf nins. And what do you want? We have no time nor will to play with you. Then just give us your scroll and we'll be on our way, announced Naruto. That, we won't do, replied the one called Ryu as he reached for his axe. May I have them? I didn't had any fun for a while now, and with that he turned to the silver head. Fine, responded Shinrai after a moment of hesitation. Just don't let them near Psycho. Not to worry, it'll be finished in a minute, you know, said Fukumaru reaching for his katana. I was gonna say the same thing. You guys take 5, I'll handle this. This guy is a weapon user like me after all. Stay on guard, Fukumaru-kun, asked Sakura worried. He's quite confident, he may have few tricks up his sleeve. I know, replied the blonde. The biggest mistake a shinobi can make is to underestimate his opponent. That's why I'm going all out immediately, and with those words he performed a quick chain of hand seals and called out, Mikazuki no Mai. And instantly 3 Fukumarus were charging at the Cloud Nin. What the? Ryu's eyes widened a bit at the sight, but he kept his cool and slashed the space before him with his axe. To the Leaf Nin's surprise, the blade of the weapon separated from the rest, tied to it with a long chain, and cut through 2 of Fukumaru's phantoms. The last of the swordsmen jumped above the blade and making a somersault while spinning, he landed right behind Ryu with his katana ready to chop off the bold boy's head. The Cloud Nin acted immediately and ducked under the cut, pushing the blade of his axe back. As it located itself near him, he spun around on his heel, thus making a deadly whirlpool. However, Fukumaru saw that coming in time and placed his sword in the way of the blade. As the chain and the blade of the katana connected, the chain started to tie itself around the swords. Instantly the former Mist Nin reached out for his second blade and aimed at Ryu's head. Having no way to block the attack with his axe, the Cloud Nin performed a quick set of hand seals single-handed and called out, Raiden, Ikazuchi Dageki. And before anyone noticed, the chain got surrounded with electricity which traveled to Fukumaru's body, making him scream from the pain. The swordsman let go of his katana that was blocking the chain to separate himself from the attack. It seemed to work as the pain started to slowly fade away. Fukumaru tightened his grip on the other sword. Surprise! Ryu smiled widely and his axe once more looked normal. Nice trick, announced the former Mist Nin, breathing a bit heavily. Metal conducts electricity, so all you had to do was launch the charge to your weapon and it attacked me by itself. Quite impressive for a genin. Told you, this won't take long, and with that launched the blade of his axe, with the use of the chain, naturally, into the air just to drop it on the blonde. Fukumaru instantly jumped to the right, avoiding the attack, and at an incredible speed charged at the Cloud Nin. The Leaf Nin attacked from the left, forcing his opponent to jump back. As soon as Ryu's feet touched the ground, they had to leave it once more to avoid another cut. The bold boy found himself dodging Fukumaru's attacks, not able to counter due to the former Mist Nin's haste. No one even noticed when Fukumaru forced Ryu in the right direction and picked up his second sword and unleashed a true storm of attacks on the Cloud Nin. The only thing Boldy could do was dodge. Damn it, Ryu said to himself as he performed an instant set of hand seals. Raiden, Ikazuki Tama. And suddenly electricity started to surround his body just to shoot out of it a second later in every direction. Acting on instinct, Fukumaru performed a chain of hand seals of his own, and with the last symbol he called out, Kaden. Kasai Uzumaki. And instantly a fire barrier appeared around him, blocking all the thunders, lifting tons of dust into the air in the process. As the smoke cleared, the spectators noticed that the two attacks cancelled each other out, leaving both shinobis unharmed. That blonde is pretty good, Shinrai thought to himself. He not only knows how to use swords properly but also is familiar with both fire and water jutsus. If this keeps up, Ryu may lose. Then he took a look on his female teammate. Instantly he noticed she was observing the fight, breathing quickly with her teeth clenched. She's losing it. We have to resolve this fast or we risk that repeating itself, and with that he turned to the bold boy. Ryu, finish this soon. otherwise it will awake soon. The Axeman took a quick glare at the one called Psycho and instantly his eyes widened. That was also the first time the Leaf Nins could see fear in them. Fukumaru noticed that Boldy's hands started to shiver a bit. Immediately the axe user snapped out of it and, sending the swordsman a death glare, sent his blade towards him again. Fukumaru easily deflected the assault with one of his katanas though and instantly jumped forward with an attempt to bring both his blades at his opponent from above. Ryu jumped back, making way for Shinrai who decided to join the battle. He was just finishing his chain of hand seals and with the last symbol he aimed 2 fingers at the former Mist Nin and called out, "Raiden! Banrai no Jutsu!" And before the Leaf Nin knew it a thunder shoot right at him. The swordsman tried to avoid the attack, but still was hit with electricity once more, only this time much more powerful than the one Ryu used on him. With his muscles burning from the inside, he fell to the ground, dropping both his swords. But it was also then that Naruto decided to take action as well. With a short set of hand seals he performed his primary jutsu, attacking Shinrai from all sides. Yuzu Ma-ki! Yelled each clone chili sending the Cloud Nin higher and higher into the sky. The last of the blondes was coming at the defenseless silver hair from above and landing a powerful blow on his head finished the combo. Naruto Renden. To everyone's surprise however, Shinrai used his hands to land and avoided his head smashing hard into the surface. That surprised the blonde, who was still in midair coming to the landing. Before Naruto's feet touched the ground, the Cloud Nin reached for his weapons and in a fraction of a second launched several kunais and shurikens at the blonde. However they never reached the loud mouth as Fukumaru stepped in their way and used his swords to block and deflect each and every one of them. As soon as the throwing weapons fell to the ground, Fukumaru dropped to his left knee and propped himself by stabbing one of his katanas into the ground. Shinrai's last attack must have got him good. The silver hair instantly appeared next to him and landed a powerful kick in his head. A moment later he was heading towards Naruto, but the blonde already landed on the ground and was able to block the punch aimed at the left side of his head. But it was then that Ryu launched his blade at him as well and Shinrai grabbed the blonde so that he wouldn't be able to escape. Surprisingly Sakura jumped out of nowhere and captured the chain that was holding the axe. With all her strength she pushed the chain to herself, thus making Ryu fly right at her. As the bold boy came into her range, she landed a powerful blow into the back of his head and made the Axeman crush hard into the ground right in front of her. The whole thing shocked Shinrai for a second, but that was enough for Naruto, who instantly placed his leg behind the Cloud Nin's and pressing the silver-haired boy's chest made him fell over. The Cloud Nin didn't let go of the blonde's hand though and as soon as he landed on the ground, he tossed the loud mouth right at Sakura, who was too surprised to dodge. The both rolled on the ground for a while before they came to a stop. "Ryu's out cold," noticed Shinrai. "Such strength, she's probably a medic nin then," but at that moment he needed to jump back to avoid the blade coming right at his head. It was Fukumaru whose body just started to listen to him again. The blonde reached out to his hostile and launched few shurikens at the silverhead. The shinobi stars weren't much of a challenge to Shinrai as he dodged all of them, except for the last one, which he grabbed and threw it back at the Leaf Nin. Fukumaru grabbed the shuriken as well and as he began charging at the Cloud Nin he threw it once more, preparing the swords he held in his other hand. Seeing that, Shinrai strafed left, avoiding the shinobi star, and performed a quick set of hand seals. As he finished, electricity started to surround his right hand. The thunder formed itself into a sword-like form with which the Cloud Nin blocked Fukumaru's attack. More than that, as soon as the 2 blades clashed, the electricity started to crawl on the former Mist Nin's blade towards him again. This time the blonde was fast enough though and while releasing the grip on the sword, he used his hands to prop himself against the surface and attacked with a kick from Shinrai's left with his left leg. The silverhead blocked the kick with both his hands but Fukumaru instantly switched hands and this time, facing the Cloud Nin, launched the attack with his right leg from the same side as before. This one Shinrai was unable to block or avoid and was sent flying back. He didn't hit the ground though as Naruto kicked him into the air. The Cloud Nin then noticed the Whisker Marks kid coming right at him from above again. "This time you won't be able to land," he assured his opponent as he landed a powerful kick into the Cloud Nin's stomach. The silver head crushed to the ground hard, making a small crater around him. He slowly began to get back on his feet but you could easily tell that the last attack made serious damage to him. The Cloud Nin sent the two blondes a death glare as he began another chain of hand seals. He suddenly stopped in his tracks though, and with fear showing on his face he turned to his female teammate. Only then did Naruto and Fukumaru notice something that sent chills down their spines. The blonde Kunoichi's body was surrounded with electricity with shoot sparkles here and there from time to time. The girl's eyes were shining yellow and also shoot lightings from the pupils to the back of her head. The ground around here was beginning to crack as few of the electric waves run loose on it. Soon veins started to appear on every part of her body. "What the?" was all Naruto could say at the sight. "That girl," began Fukumaru. "Such power, it's not human, she must be." "Psycho. Please," begged Shinrai with his voice shivering a bit. "I can still fight, leave this to me and—" But she wasn't listening. She just walked right past her teammates and sending the two-leaf nins a death glare, she said in a deep voice. "So, how does your blood taste?" Psycho wasn't listening at all. She just walked right past Shinrai and sending the two-leaf nins a death glare, she said in a deep voice. "So, how does your blood taste?" And before any of them could answer, she launched a punch in Naruto's face. The whisker marks kneeled just in time to avoid the hit, but wasn't able to do anything against a kick that came right after the punch. Once the attack connected with his face, the loud mouth was sent flying many meters back. Fukumaru acted instantly. He aimed his blade at the Cloud Kunoichi's neck and cut from her left. Surprisingly for him though, electricity shoot from Psycho's body and hit his katana. In a fraction of a second the shock wave reached his hand, making the former mist nin cry out in pain. As he let go of his sword, Psycho grabbed him by his neck, thus sending more electricity through his body. Fukumaru could feel his nerves being attacked, making him shiver against his will. A second later he caught out blood and his vision started to get blur. But it was then that Sakura landed a powerful blow on the Cloud Kunoichi's face, thus making the blonde let go of her teammate and sending the Cloud Nin flying back. Instantly the pink-haired Kunoichi grabbed the hand with which she attacked the Cloud Nin, as pain started to grow in it. With all that electricity around her, using taijutsu is useless, she thought to herself. Even if we manage to lay a punch on her, we'll receive damage as well. The only way to beat her is ninjutsu. "Kage Bushin no Jutsu!" yelled Naruto as tens of his clones surrounded the blonde Kunoichi and prepared their kunais. "Your death meet!" they all announced at the same time and jumped right at the Cloud Nin. Psycho just stood there though, and the moment the clones came close enough, she released electricity out her body, thus sending hundreds of small thunders at the charging Bushins, destroying every one of them. "That much power," thought Fukumaru. "There's only one way we can get out alive out of this," and with that thought he began to unwrap his arm from bandages. It was then that Sakura, who was standing quite close to the former mist nin, noticed strange markings appearing on the bandages the moment Fukumaru started to unwrap them. Psycho's eyes stopped at the swordsman, who suddenly seemed to interest her the most out of the three-leaf nins. She was about to jump at the blonde, but at the same moment Shinrai appeared right next to her and placed a tag with a seal on her forehead. Instantly all the electricity surrounding the Cloud Kunoichi started to fade away. The girl herself fell to her knees, breathing heavily. Shinrai just stared at her with a worried look on his face and then, without a moment of hesitation, he threw the leaf nins a scroll his team just obtained. "Take it and leave," he said, not even bothering to look at the trio. "Huh?" Naruto couldn't understand what was going on, but why? "Just go. She went overboard, and if you're around, this one tag may not be enough to calm her down," announced the Cloud Nin. Fukumaru wrapped his hand back and picking up the scroll took of. Soon after his teammates followed. "What was that?" asked Sakura once they were far away from the Cloud Nins. "That girl just now, was it her bloodline limit?" "I doubt that," replied Fukumaru calmly. "It seems to me that she's one of the Jinchuriki." "Jinshu what?" Now Naruto found it hard to follow his teammate thoughts. "Did you guys ever heard about the Biju?" "Yes," nodded Sakura. "They're many-tailed beasts. Demons that walked the earth ages ago. It's said that their power was unmatched. Yet, they were all defeated." "That's just partly true," replied the former mist nin. "It is true that the Biju were all defeated. However, their power was so great that humans wouldn't be humans if they wouldn't want to use it for their own goals. The Biju were defeated, but not destroyed." "What do you mean?" demanded Naruto. "No one could control the Biju, they were too powerful." "However, Where there's a will, there's a way. In order to use the huge amount of chakra that the Biju possessed, the beast had to be sealed inside a human being. That way the one who carried a beast inside of him or her could link to that chakra and use it as his own. Thanks to that, the beast carrier had practically an unlimited amount of chakra. People who had Biju sealed inside them are called Jinchuriki. That's inhuman, said the pink-haired Kunoichi. Naruto just lowered his sight and then, after a moment of silence, he asked, "But for what would people want a demon, which could break loose at any time walking around their village? It's risky." "Mostly for military purposes," came a response. "I mean, think about a shinobi with unlimited amount of chakra, incredible strength, for many it's like a thumb card, a perfect weapon. And, dependable on the way the Biju is sealed in the Jinchuriki, easy to control. If the seal is weak, the chances for demon to escape are high. If that was to happen, the vessel would die, so the best way to prevent it is to cooperate with the one who sealed the beast in the first place." "So, is there a way to remove the Biju out of a person?" wondered the Whisker Marks. "I don't know. Maybe," replied the swordsman. "However, I heard that once the beast is separated from the body, the vessel dies anyway." "Fukumaru-kun, how come you know so much about this?" asked Sakura. "Let's just say I knew a Jinchuriki once," answered the former Mist Nin after a moment of silence. None of them said anything through the rest of the test. "Nice job, Hinata," announced Kiba as he played with the scroll they just found. "Your eyes are as usual unmatched," but then his words froze in his throat as he sensed something. He looked at Akamaru. The dog slightly nodded. The dog ninja smelt the air once more and after locating the source of the smell, he gave Shino directions with his eyes only. A moment later screams came from a nearby bushes. Two tree nins felt unconscious to the ground with the leaf nins bugs all over them. "You missed one," noticed Kiba as they both heard a wild yell coming at them from behind. But before the third tree nin could reach them, Hinata stood in his way and before he could reach in anyway, she landed a hit with her palm open on his chest. The tree nin was sent flying back and fell to the ground barely able to move. "I was expecting something more from shinobies who made it through the first test," announced Kiba a bit disappointed. "Don't say that, Kiba-kun," asked Hinata with a shy voice. "If it wasn't for your sense of smell, we wouldn't be able to detect them in time." "Whatever, let's just take this scroll and finish this test already," ordered the dog ninja and the three leaf shinobis went on their way. "This was way easier than I thought," announced Kumaro as he held out the scroll they just stole from the group of Cloud Nin. "Those Kumo freaks were a bunch of losers." "Maybe you'd be interested in a real challenge then?" came a little squeaky voice. The Mist Nins turned around in the direction it came from and spotted the team wearing kaime headbands. A boy with white hair and black eyes stepped forward and demanded in the squeaky voice they all just heard. "Give the scroll to us and we'll let you leave. You are of no interest to us." "And if we say no," asked Kato. "I'll be forced to kill you," came a response in a cold voice. "That freak is taking us lightly," noticed Zyra. "He's mine," and with that she jumped to the air and unwrapped a large scroll. Before anyone knew it, a rain of all sort of weapons shoot out of the scroll right at the black-eyed boy. The white head jumped back in order to avoid the weapon rain, but while he was still in midair, Zyra appeared right behind him and released few of her kunais and shurikens at his back. As soon as the weapons dig into his back, the black-eyed boy fell to the ground motionless. "What did I tell? Easy," announced Zyra with a smile as she walked right past the white-haired boy lying on the ground. But she suddenly stopped in her tracks, once she noticed the looks on her teammates' faces. Their eyes were widened and mouth opened. The Mist Kunoichi instantly turned around and saw the black-eyed boy, his body covered in blood, finishing a strange chain on hand seals. Before she could do anything, she cried out in pain and fell to the ground with her blood escaping her body. "Zyra!" yelled Kumaro, as he tried to run to his teammate, but was stopped by Kato. "What are you doing? We have to help her." Kato didn't answer. He just kept looking at the white-haired boy who stood in front of them with a smirk. What is he? The tall, Lake Nin read the clue informing the participants of one of the scroll's whereabouts. He smiled to his two companions and announced, "I think I solved the riddle. It seems that the scroll is hidden in a hollow scooped out in a tree trunk that's located about 100 meters west from that huge rock," and with that he pointed in the direction where the stone was. "This is too easy," Right, Subaru, smiled his comrade while turning to their female teammate. The girl did not answer, she just felt motionless to the ground. What the, began the one holding the scroll. Meanwhile, few miles away, Ino just opened her eye. I know where the scroll is, she announced, getting back to her feet. Looks like you were right to follow them, Shikamaru, Choji praised his teammate. Yeah, replied the lazy Chunin, not really caring. Let's just get that scroll before those lake nins will, and with that they headed towards the nearby rock. Boy, the faces of those rain nins when they felt for your genjutsu was priceless, Kosha, announced Ayame, holding the scroll and smiling widely. It was a simple trick really, replied the grass nin still having his eyes closed. During that conversation they didn't even notice that they were watched by a team of rain nins, who were hiding on a nearby tree. A simple trick, the one who seemed to be the leader repeated. Let's show them that playing around with this is the last thing you should do. With that he looked at his companions who only nodded, and in a fraction of a second, they all threw their wooden umbrellas to the sky. After completing a short set of hand seals, they all called out, Ninpo, Joro Senbon, and instantly a rain of needles shoot out of the umbrellas right at the three grass nins. Kusa shinobies weren't even able to avoid the attack in time. In a blink of an eye their bodies got pierced by hundreds of senbons, making them cry out in pain. The AIM shinobi's team leader smirked under his nose as he jumped off the tree and landed softly on the ground. You picked a wrong team to steal the scroll from, he announced, but it was then that smirk disappeared from his face as he noticed that the tree grass nins they just attacked were now just wooden pails. A second later screams came from the tree he was hiding on before, and his two comrades came crushing down to the ground. Right after them Fugato jumped down and landing on his feet, he said, "Yet you got yourselves fooled again." Before the rain nin could react, he received a hit in the back of his head from Ayame, which sent him into unconsciousness. You can open your eyes now, Kosha, we've taken care of them, she said jokingly. Very funny, came a response, and then the grass nin with the lizard came out of the bushes. But I am a bit disappointed, those very basic, genjutsu tricks, if they felt for them so easily, they'd got killed sooner or later. Then it's a good thing we send them to a longer sleep, announced Fugato. They probably won't be able to move until this test is over. Now, do you guys want to gather more scrolls, or will we just settle with one? Let's not be show-offs, replied Ayame. We should give other teams a chance. Damn it, stop looking down on us, ordered the waterfall nin as he threw more kunais at his opponent, who was charging right at him. All of the knives were deflected by the spinning halberd though, which was used by the sound nin that attacked him. Before the waterfall nin could do anything, his arm was pierced by the halberd's blade. The waterfall nin cried out in pain as Sasuke smirked under his nose. The raven hair then lifted his opponent up, using only his halberd, and threw him right at the tree. Once the waterfall nin hit the trunk hard, he lost consciousness. Pathetic, was all Sasuke said, putting down his halberd. Give them some credit, Sasuke-kun, asked Baita. They were stronger than that snow team which we beaten to get the first scroll. Well, we already defeated all the teams that entered this area with us, and we've collected all 4 scroll hidden, so might as well report that we passed this test, proposed Gunko. Whatever, replied the former Leaf Nin as he followed his teammates. I hope you succeeded too, dope, I like to finish what I've started. Well, began a fat, mountain nin with a straw headgear on and wearing a red shirt with red pants, as he prepared his large hammer. Would you look at that? 3 cute girls playing ninja. Don't you know it's dangerous? Maybe we should take the scroll you just found, to be safe. His teammates, both male, first wearing blue and a straw headgear just like the fatso, and the third, short one, wearing green also with a headgear, laughed at the comment. The girls they were talking about were the 3 moon nins. The first one was a girl with long, wavy, black hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a violet, shinobi dress. Similar to the one Kakashi wears, and her mouth was covered by a violet, shinobi mask. She wore her Hite 8 on her left arm and also carried a huge scroll on her back. The second girl was a bit shorter than her. She had medium length, red hair and a red shawl on top of her head, which covered most of her hair and her ears. He had golden eyes and wore a black shirt with short sleeves and a gray waistcoat on that. Her pants were also gray and reached her feet. However, her left trouser leg was ripped off around her knee. Her headband was used as a belt. The last one of the tree was a girl with short, brown hair. Her eyes were green and she had a green star tattooed on her left cheek. She was wearing green and brown dress and had a nunchaku attached to her belt. The weapon was made out of some black metal and the two ends of it were bound together with a golden chain. "I think we can handle it," replied the one with brown hair. "I doubt that," announced the mountain nin with the hammer. "That fatso is beginning to piss me off," stated the one wearing green. "Chill, I'll handle this," assured the redhead and then turned to the one wearing violet. "May I, Kim?" The one with black hair only nodded, and before any of the mountain nins knew what was going on, the redhead jumped right at them, cutting their skin with her nails. "Hake Rokuju Yansho," called out Neji as he finished his attack, knocking the lake nin out. "Great job, Neji," yelled Lee, rising his hands to the sky. "The spirit of youth springs in you." "At least this time no one sees him doing that," Tenten sighed to herself and then picked up the scroll lake nins were carrying. "Shall we finish this test right away or are we gonna hunt down few more?" "Let's end this, no point in risking," replied the white-eyed boy. "You're not scared, are you, Neji?" asked the weapon mistress with a smile appearing on her face. "It's simple strategy. If we were to look for more scrolls, we would waste our energy and risk our abilities getting figured out. Unneeded risk." "The second test is almost finished," said Banrai to the shadows. A moment later a girl with long, brown hair, pale skin and red eyes walked out of the shadows. She was wearing a black robe with red clouds on it. She smiled slightly and asked, "So, is everything ready?" "My subordinate located all the targets. It seems we can get almost the whole collection. However, with all the junins and examiners around it may prove a bit difficult. Sasori and Didera have already began gathering information. Soon we'll be ready, but it's still required that we wait until the last test begins," reminded the girl. "Too much confidence can be destructive, Shaburu," responded Banrai. "Fear not, the outcome will be the same, the Jinchuriki will be ours," and with that she disappeared in the shadows once more. "My name is Kobushi Kazeru," announced a young man with spiky, short, black hair and green eyes. He had a metal protector on his right arm and wore a black battlesuit, kinda like the one Lee uses, with a green waistcoat on it. "I was chosen to be the examiner for the third test of this decade's Tiger Challenge. Before I'll explain your task and rules, I'd like to congratulate you all on reaching this part. It seems you're one of the best decades, 'cause never before in the history of this tournament had so many teams made it to this test." "So many teams?" Sakura questioned herself as she looked around. There were like around 1,000 at the beginning and now there's only a little over 50. All of the participants were now standing in the middle of a large glade on the north of the island. In front of them there was a forest with tall trees and more to the north mountains. Fukumaru looked to his right, where stood a team of cloud nins. The same they faced in the previous test. Saiko didn't seem to pay any attention to the blonde. Ryu kept sending death glares towards Sakura and Shinrai just smiled to the swordsman, noticing his stare. They manage after all, he thought to himself, turning his gaze to the left where the rest of the Leaf teams stood. So, Konoha still has all their genins in the tournament. Guess the Leaf stands for its reputations, and with that he returned to observing the examiner. For crying out loud, Choji, you ate like an hour ago, Ino whispered to her teammate, who was standing behind her with his stomach growling. Can't you keep it down? It's not my fault that breakfast was so small, replied the chubby ninja. Yeah, right. You ate your share and half of mine. If I wasn't on a diet, I'd kick your ass. How troublesome, sighed Shikamaru, shaking his head, which earned him another hit in the head from Ino. Why are all women such a pain in the butt? Naruto-kun made it here too, noticed Hinata cheerfully, yet quietly. Shino seemed unmoved by that statement however. Yeah, him and over 150 other people, stated Kiba, who looked at Akamaru, how kept whining for a while now. There are some strong opponents among those who passed, he thought to himself and then his gaze stopped at the team standing on his left. It was a team of moon nins that consisted of girls his age only, the same that appeared in the previous chapter. The one who seemed to be a leader, the girl wearing a violet shinobi outfit stood out front with her arms crossed. The one who stood right behind her had shawl on her head. She noticed Kiba staring and winking to him, She showed him her tongue and then giggled slightly, turning to the third girl, who was wearing green and brown. The last one just seemed to notice the dog ninja and giving him an expression, "I don't give a damn," returned to looking at the examiner. "Fugato-kun, looks like your favorites made it too," announced Ayame, spotting Naruto and his team. "Kinda depressing that all of Konoha teams succeed to get so far and we're the only team from the grass left." "It was expected," replied the grass nin. "After all, the leaf," but he didn't finish the sentence as pain shoot through his torso and his vision started to get blur. He bended over, holding back a scream of pain. In an instant Kosha kneeled next to him and placed his hand on Fugato's shoulder. Few seconds later the grass nin seemed to got back to as he was and slowly struggled back to his feet. "Again?" asked Ayame a bit surprised. Fugato only nodded. "But I thought you—" "Nothing is certain in my condition," he cut her off. "But it's okay now, all I need is a minute, thanks, Kosha." His companion gave him a nod, yet kept his eyes closed. The commotion caused few stares, including a certain, black-eyed boy who looked in the grass nin's direction for a fraction of a second, but almost immediately turned away and looked at the bold stone nin who stood just few feet away from him. "Boruto, that white head is staring at you," announced another stone nin, the one with claw gloves on, who walked on both his feet and hands. "I know," replied the bold shinobi. "He's been doing it since this tournament started. Just ignore him, Sume, he's of no importance to us." The last one of the three, the one carrying the huge sword, just looked at the black-eyed boy for a moment and narrowed his eyes. There's something unusual about him, he thought, but kept that to himself. Gaara and his siblings stood on one of the edges of the glade. Kankuro was yawing due to the lack of sleep he had last night. Tamari was standing propped on her fan and the redhead was standing in front of them with his arms crossed and no emotions on his face, as usual. Right next to them stood the other team from the Suna, the one they told about to the leaf nins. Gokibori, the muscular one with spiky, black hair and hands covered in bandages, just stood there smiling, not paying attention to anything. The girl, Kanpu, who was a shrimp, especially compared to her teammates, had long, blue hair, clipped into one big bun and was wearing a yellow dress, was playing with a small, silver medallion around her neck. The leader of the second, sand team, Dekatsu, a boy Gaara's age with long, straight, black hair, red eyes, wearing jet black robe from under which something seemed to move on his back, looked straight at the redhead and when Shukaku Vessel's attention finally stopped on him, he smiled and started licking his left cheek with unnaturally long tongue. Once the tongue retreated back to the sand nin's mouth, Dekatsu announced with a cold and empty voice. "You better do good. Our two teams protect the honor of the hidden sand. And by the way, I'm curious how many participants you already killed, Sabaku no Gaara." The redhead just kept looking at him for a moment more and then turned away. "That's not nice," announced Dekatsu, smirking again. "But have it your way, the more you spare, the more fun for me," and with that he looked away too. "Okay, let's get down to the rules," announced Kazeru, making everyone turn to him again. "First let me just tell you that the number of participants is way too high and we can't allow so many to enter the last test, so be prepared that this one is gonna be hard. I assure you that over a half of you won't make it through." "Whatever," replied Gu-A-N. "He's one of the rain nins you met before the second exam, the violet head. Just get to the point and let's get this over with." "He's at it again," sighed Kosame and gave his teammate an annoyed look. A cow just sweat dropped. "All right," Kazeru slowly continued. "The mission objective is rather simple. On top of the mountains you should see from here are silver eagle nests. Those are very rare birds, so you're not allowed to harm any of them. The goal of this test will be for you to bring at least one silver eagle egg from those nests." "Collecting eggs," repeated Baita. "What kind of a dumb test is this supposed to be?" "Let me explain the rules," Kazeru continued, without paying much to the sound kunoichi. "Each team require only one egg to advance to the last exam. You are allowed to steal the eggs from each other, so those who think are strong enough are welcome to wait at the bottom of the mountains for weaker teams to get the egg and then get it from them, but be aware of the primary rule to this. A team that will break an egg is banned from the tournament." "What?" Gunko couldn't believe what he just heard. "Why's that?" "As I said, silver eagles are rare birds, so by destroying the egg you put them closer to extinction. Besides, this rule is also to teach you of some responsibility. During mission you'll be given scrolls or other objects that must be kept in one piece. Since eggs are easily broken, those who will manage to bring them safely will prove they can be given delicate documents. So if those birds are so close to extension, why are we taking their eggs? Asked Sasuke. The eggs will be returned to the nests by the examiners once the test is over, assured Kazeru. To get the eggs and get back here you'll have 4 days. Now wait a minute for other examiners to arrive and then follow them to your starting point, and with that he was gone. This is perfect, announced a man with blonde, gelled-up hair, his mouth hidden behind a metal shinobi mask formed into a beak. His eyes were green and he was a green and yellow suit with a long chain attached to his belt. He had a Hite 8 with a feather on his forehead. With a test like that we'll access the final exam in no time. His teammates, a fat, shirtless man with his head completely covered in bandages and a metal glover with claws on his right hand, and a short boy with spiky, brown hair, wearing white shirt and a little baggy, black pants, only nodded. Well, this test shouldn't be too hard since we have Lee on our team, announced Neji as he gave his teammate a weak smile. Yes, my spirit of youth can finally explode and prove itself to everyone, yelled Fuzzy Brows. Are you sure it's a good idea to leave our fate in his hands? Tenten whispered jokingly into Neji's ear. We might regret it. Getting bird eggs, repeated Naruto. What a lame test, I'm going to die of bore. Could you just shut up? Asked Fukumaru. You heard the examiner. There'll definitely be few teams that will try stealing the eggs, so we might met one of them, and besides, I'm pretty sure Shinku and his team will go after us this time around. What makes you so sure? Asked Sakura. Because 2 years ago this day made things the way they are, replied the former Miss Nin. The pink-haired Kunoichi wanted to know something more, but noticed that her teammate had no desire to tell her, so she stayed silent. At least until a team of waterfall nins approached them. The one who walked out front was a boy with eyes completely white, kinda like the ones Hyuga have, and long, black hair. He wore a shirt with short sleeves that was red on the left and white on the right side. He had pants with short, trouser legs, which also were in 2 colors. White on the left and red on the right. He wore his Hite 8 around his neck. The second one was a girl with long, black hair, clipped in 2 ponytails that were falling from the 2 sides of her head. Her eyes were dark blue and she wore a similar dress to Sakura's, only blue. Her headband was on her left arm. The last one was a short boy with wavy, blue hair and hazel eyes. He wore a yellow outfit and carried a bucket around his belt. His forehead protector was used as a belt actually. What do you want? Naruto asked suspiciously. Are you Nadare Fukumaru and Uzumaki Naruto? The white-eyed boy didn't seem to pay any attention to the blonde's question and asked his own. You should answer someone's question before asking one yourself, replied the swordsman calmly, giving the waterfall nin an annoyed glare. Who are you and what's your business with us? Daburu-san. They're not showing us any respect, announced the shrimp. May I? No, Umihebi, the one wearing red and white, disagreed. I'm actually happy with their response, and with that he turned to face Fukumaru. My name is Daburu and these are my teammates. Kirei and Umihebi. We're from the Bakufugakure, now will you answer my question? All right, nodded the former Miss Nin. I am Nadare Fukumaru, the girl is Haruno Sakura and the dope is indeed Uzumaki Naruto. How do you know of us? At least he got my last name right, sighed the Whisker Marks. Nothing special, assured the girl, Kirei. Daburu-san just wanted to wish you luck during the next test, that, all. Thanks, replied Sakura, looking suspiciously at the waterfall nins. Team 13 from Konoha. They all heard an older voice and a moment later they spotted a grown-up man with a notebook. Please follow me to your starting location, and with that said the leaf nins walked after the man, leaving mysterious waterfall nins behind. Are you certain of it, Age? Taiyo asked his companion as they ran through the jungle to the coast. Why would they try anything during the tournament? With that much security and so many shinobies from various villages. Do not forget Jinchuriki showed up on the island, reminded him Age. According to my information they already captured 2, so if we'll allow them to get those which participate this year. I know, assured Taiyo. Besides, there's no backing out now. I hope you informed Kazeru of the situation before we left, and with that they both stopped. I did, replied the other examiner as he looked at the 2 figures that appeared in front of them. They both wore black cloaks with red clouds on them. The first one was a tall man that carried a huge sword wrapped in bandages. His skin was blue as well as his hair, and his teeth looked more like jaws. He had a Hite-8 with the slashed mist symbol on his forehead. The second figure was way shorter. He had long, black hair and two strange-looking lines going across his face. His headband, that was also located on his forehead, had a slashed leaf symbol on it. Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi, right? Asked Age, glaring at the two. Looks like we were spotted after all, Itachi announced the shark face, not paying much attention to the two men before them. What now? We were supposed to sneak in quietly, but now. It's regrettable, but it seems we'll have to dispose of the obstacle, replied the shorter one, Itachi, coldly. Be aware of the fact that they're not from any village we'd have an information about, so their abilities are completely unknown. Stay alert at all time. No information, smiled the swordsman. Good, easy tasks are boring. May I have them both? It's been a while since I had a good fight. No, Kisame, we'll face them together. We're not allowed to fail this mission. Guess you won't come peacefully then, sighed Taiyo. We'll use the force to capture you then, Age. These guys are from the Akatsuki, do not hold back. I'm not intending to, replied the other examiner as he reached for his pocket. So, are you sure it's a good idea, Sakura-chan? Asked Naruto while the three of them ran through the forest. By doing so we're completely uncovered. I know, and that's what makes it safer, replied the pink-haired Kunoichi. We're all ninja, so most of the teams that'll decided to get the eggs will probably use the most difficult routes in order to avoid their egg getting stolen. But that is also what the thieves will expect, and they'll hide themselves somewhere on such routes. By choosing the most obvious and safest route we make an easy target, so easy very few people will actually consider even checking out this route, and those who will might think we're incredibly strong, since we don't bother hiding. I guess Tsunade-sama taught you some strategy, noticed Fukumaru. What you say is mostly true, but there are many unknowns in your logic, so do stay alert at all times, and the moment he said so a kunai flew out of nowhere right at the Kunoichi. Naruto reacted immediately and grabbed his female teammate, pushing her closer to himself, thus saving her from the knife that would surely stab her in the heart. Sakura turned to the blonde slowly, and Naruto was about to say, "No need to thank me," but then noticed that the pink-haired girl is seriously pissed, and only then did he realize why. When he tried to pull her away, he grabbed her when a boy shouldn't grab a girl unless he's allowed to. Soon after, the whisker marks get to fell the cold ground under him as the Kunoichi knocked him down and started to jump all over him. You guys, can't you put it away for later? Asked Fukumaru while looking around. We've got more important things to worry about than someone innocence. What did you say? Sakura was holding back her anger as a vein pulsed on her forehead. Fukumaru just picked out a shuriken and threw it at a nearby tree. Right before everyone's eyes, Hyson jumped off the branch and landed on his feet. Giving the swordsman a death glare, he prepared few kunais. A moment later, Renge and Shinku appeared right next to their teammate, and Sakura, along with Naruto, joined Fukumaru. Both teams now stood in front of each other, not moving an inch. We didn't even get the egg yet, announced the former Miss Nin. I was hoping you'll wait at least for that. Sorry, but I just couldn't help myself, replied Shinku. Besides, I really wanted to wish you a happy birthday, Fukumaru, and when he said so both Naruto and Sakura looked at their teammate. Today's his birthday? The whisker marks was a bit surprised. It's already been 2 years, haven't it? Asked the Mist team leader. Boy, how time flies. Tell me, Fukumaru, did you kept celebrating this day even above what happened? That is none of your business, replied the swordsman. Who rude, and we were thinking of giving you a present, announced Hyson as he pointed to the grass around the leaf nins. As they looked down, they noticed explosive tags all around, hidden under the grass. It's been fun, Fukumaru, said Renge with a smile as all the tags exploded, covering the area Naruto's team stood with dust. Age reached out for his pocket and picked out a stash of papers. Itachi instantly activated his bloodline limit, confused about what his opponent was planning to do. And only thanks to the Sharingan was he able to see that the examiner has started collecting chakra in the arm that held the papers. What do you intend to do with that? Laughed Kisame at the sight. Give us paper cuts. Something like that, replied Age with a smirk as he performed several hand seals single-handed. Hajutsu. Kami Henzuru. Katana. and as he said so the paper in his hands just started to bend and rip itself, forming a long, paper sword. What the former mist nin was a bit shocked at the sight, yet soon his surprise turned into amusement as a smirk appeared on his face. He pointed his blade at the redhead and announced, "I see, you use your chakra to form paper into anything you desire. I guess you also spray your every creating with chakra, making it stronger than it should be. If I'm right, that stupid katana of yours has gained all the properties of a real blade. Quite a skill, I must admit. Shall we try how useful it is in the battle?" Without replying, Age jumped into the air and cut from above. However, Kisame blocked the attack with ease and then, swinging his sword, pushed the redhead away, making him land on his feet few meters away. His paper katana stayed unharmed. The shark face charged at the examiner instantly though, so the moment the redhead landed on the ground, he was forced to back away, both dodging and deflecting Kisame's furious attacks, not able to counter. Finally he managed to block the missing nin's katana, and so both swordsmen stopped, looking at each other with the blades of their weapons forced against one another. Then a smirk appeared on Kisame's face as his weapon transformed into something that might be called a saw and ripped Age's katana into pieces. "My Somahada isn't just a sword," announced the shark face with a smile. "You should expect that, considering I am one of the 7 shinobi swordsmen." Age didn't answer. He just picked out a stash of small, paper shurikens attached to each other with string, and as he threw the stash into the air, he performed a quick set of hand seals, finished with a call. Hajutsu. Kami Henzuru. Shuriken aim. And instantly the shurikens separated and flew right at the surprised missing nin from every direction. The swordsman quickly formed seals of his own, and with the last symbol he released air from his mouth, calling out, "Sweden. Suijinheki." And in a fracture of a second a powerful, water barrier formed itself around him, destroying all the shurikens. "Even with the help of my chakra that is still paper," Age reminded himself as he jumped back a bit. "Since he's a former mist nin, it's only natural he knows water jutsus. This won't do." Meanwhile Taiyo and Itachi were having an eye contest, finally broken by the one wearing sunglasses, who quickly performed several hand seals and called out, "Hajutsu. Ohasama Bushin on Jutsu." Instantly tens of Taiyo appeared before Itachi's eyes and began to surround him. The missing nin looked around surprised. "I can't tell apart the original from copies. Is this Kage Bushin?" A second later all the clones attacked him, and as he tried to defend himself he noticed a miss. "My attacks just go right through them, so a simple Bushin after all. What's going on?" And just then he received a hit in the back, but as he turned around, no one was there. "What is that jutsu?" Age jumped away from another Kisame's attack and unwrapped 2 long rolls of paper. Once he did that, he performed another set of hand seals, and with the last symbol he called out, "Hajutsu. Kami Henzuru. Kusari." And with that both rolls started to wrap themselves around the surprised missing nin. Seeing this as a chance, Age instantly picked out another sheet of paper and once more forming seals single-handed he called out, "Hajutsu. Kami Henzuru. Kasui." And right before the missing nin's eyes the paper changed into a spike which was thrown right at him by the redhead. Still holding his sword in his hand, Kisame managed to twist his wrist, however in the way that the blade of his katana would block the spike's way. Once the incoming paper weapon got deflected, Somahada changed into saw once more, freeing its master from the paper ropes. "You're beginning to be a really nuisance," announced the shark face. "Guess I should finish you off," came the voice from behind, and as Age turned around, he spotted another Kisame bringing his sword down. The blade cut the examiner in half, and as soon as both his parts fell to the ground the missing nin that cut him turned into water. "Mizu Bushin," announced Kisame with a smirk. "I made one when the water barrier hid me from your eyes. I made it go underground and take you from behind." Rather careless for someone who judges other shinobis, but just then he noticed that the redhead's body turned into paper. "What the?" "To return your words," he heard Age's voice coming from above. "I'm not the one to fall for lame tricks," and as the missing nins looked to the sky he saw the examiner flying on a huge paper crane. A second later the redhead began forming something from another sheet of paper, and as he threw it down, he performed another set of hand seals and called out, "Hajutsu. Origami Shishi." And right before Kisame's eyes a paper lion landed on the ground and attacked him with his clothes. Itachi, receiving another punch from nowhere, decided to change his strategy. He jumped into the air, and once he found himself above all the Taiyo clones, he performed his typical jutsu. Kaiten. Gukakyu no Jutsu. And instantly a gigantic fireball smashed against the ground. As he landed on the ground, he spotted a footprint on the burnt surface. So this is his ability, he thought to himself as he looked at Mark. No wonder even my Sharingan couldn't see through it, and with such jutsu even predicting his moves is not possible. Such talent, it's regrettable that I have to kill him. And just then he turned around, aiming a kick in the air. A second later his foot connected with something, and right before his eyes Taiyo appeared out of nowhere, flying back, hit by Itachi's kick. The one wearing sunglasses came to a sliding stop and stared at the Uchiha, not looking into his eyes though. Most impressive, announced the missing nin calmly. I've never heard of such an ability, must be one of a kind, being able to deflect the light with just chakra. That's how you created so many Bushins, isn't it? Taiyo didn't answer. But even more impressive is the fact that you were able to make the light come right through you. Even with my Sharingan I'm not able to copy it. Of course not, replied Taiyo finally. Since both mine and Age's abilities are more based on the appropriate use of chakra than seals, it's harder for Sharingan to copy, because except the movement you'd have to also use the right amount of chakra and in a right way. Indeed, nodded Itachi. However, your trick is now uncovered and you won't be able to surprise me again with it, and now that I see you I can also predict your movement, so this fight is over. Not quite, the one wearing sunglasses disagreed. Your eyes are a bit of a problem, but all that's needed is to shut them, and instantly he performed another set of hand seals, ended with a call. Hajutsu. Tenpai Bakuha. And just then bright light shone from Taiyo's body, blinding the missing nin who had to cover his eyes, which started to burn. The examiner didn't waste any time and instantly rammed his opponent, making him roll on the ground for a few meters. Kisame cut the paper lion in half and threw several shurikens at the crane, thus making it fall from the sky. Age landed on his feet and instinctually jumped back, thus avoiding being cut in half like his paper pet. Your techniques are quite original, announced the shark face. The only problem is that without paper around, you're harmless. True, admitted Age as he picked out another sheet. Yet, if I have it, I can do whatever I desire with it, and sending his chakra into the paper he performed another set of hand seals, ended with a call. Haijutsu, Kami Henzuru, Yari. And in an instant the paper changed into a long spear. Itachi, this is getting really tiresome, complained Kisame. Maybe it's time to finish this? We came here for different reasons. Very well, agreed the Sharingan user as he stood up. But even using your full strength, don't get too sure of yourself. These two aren't typical shinobis. So you're saying you held back until now? Taiyo smirked. If you think that such statement will scare us, then you're really naive. Don't think we revealed all our cards already, and with that he charged at the former Leaf Nin. As his fist connected with Itachi's body, the missing nin turned into hundreds of black feathers right before the surprised examiner's eyes. Genjutsu? When did he perform it? I didn't even look into his eyes, and I'm certain he didn't perform any seals. Is this related to the famous Sharingan as well? He came to a stop and performed hand seals of his own. Genjutsu. Kokwamyo no Jutsu. And instantly the whole space around him turned black, revealing the location of the real former Leaf Nin. Taiyo charged with his kunai ready, but his eyes widened as his opponent easily grabbed him by his neck. Immediately the darkness was gone. Genjutsu on that level won't work against me, stated Itachi coldly. Age's attacks with his spear kept getting faster and faster, making it harder for Kisame to block and dodge all of them. Finally he found an opening and, making his Somahata change its blade once more, torn the redhead's weapon into pieces. Then he aimed at the examiner's head, however the paper user managed to jump back just in time. Sharkface predicted just that, and as soon as Age found himself above a small puddle of water, another Kisame appeared, performed several seals, and with the last one he called out, Suiten. Suiru no Jutsu. And before the redhead could do anything, he got trapped in a huge bubble of water. He used the water that his clone was created of as a trap, noticed Age a bit too late. More than that, when he was in a barrier he really created two clones and made the second one wait for the right time to appear, keeping him hidden until now. How would suspect that there was another clone? And so it ends, announced the real Kisame as he walked towards his clone, which held its hand in the bubble where the redhead was trapped. You guys are good, only not good enough, and thus his blade cut Age in half once more. But to the missing nin's surprise, instead of a dead examiner, there was only a wooden pail cut in two. Kisame smirked, and without turning around he said, "Once more you interfere in our business." "Guess it became my habit," replied Jiraiya as Age stood right next to him safe and sound. Itachi looked at the silver-haired man, letting go of Taiyo's neck, making the one wearing sunglasses gasp for air. "You're starting to get really bothersome, Jiraiya-san." "I'll treat that as a compliment," responded the Toad Sannin. "I should ask what's your business here, but it's more than obvious I guess. However, I won't let you take the Jinchuriki." "I do not think you have anything to say in this matter," announced the Sharingan user. "Don't misunderstand, the last time we met, we didn't ran off because we were afraid to fight you, we did so due to the inconvenience of the situation, that is all." "Shall we finish what we started then now?" asked Jiraiya with a serious face. "Itachi, I really dislike this man," stated the shark face. "Let's just kill him." "The situation changed, Kisame," responded his partner. "With just those two we could have won, and if it was just Jiraiya then we probably would as well. However, if we'll be forced to fight all three at once our chances decrease. Moreover, I'm positive that one of the legendary Sannins figured as much as to ask for backup, so I assume we'll have more enemies arriving soon. Staying around would be unwise. Don't forget about the orders." "I hate when you ruin my fun," announced the former Mist Nin, but put away his sword. "Next time I will take you on though, old man," and with that threat both missing Nins disappeared. "Why didn't you attack them, Jiraiya Dono?" asked Age a bit confused. "I came in order to save you too," replied the Toad Sannin. "If the fight between me and them would take place I don't know if I'd win, so it was better to let them leave, especially since we need to report what happened here." "I guess Jiraiya-san is right," Taiyo agreed with the Frog Hermit. "We underestimated them, I'm afraid. We learned the strength of Akatsuki, but in the process we also revealed our abilities, thus losing one of the thumb cards we'd have in the coming battle." "Well, feeling guilt won't change anything now," stated the Toad Sannin. "More importantly, are you aware of the number of Jinchuriki participating in the tournament and who they are?" "I am aware of 3 taking part, but I have a feeling there's more than just that." "Unfortunately we don't collect information about the participants," replied Age. "However, if we'll keep them safe until the end of the 3rd test, our strategic position will be much better since the village leaders will be coming to watch the final test. I don't suppose the Akatsuki will try to kidnap the Jinchuriki with 5 shadows there to fight them." "Perhaps they won't," responded Jiraiya. "But inform all the examiners and double the guards for the final test nevertheless. In this situation we shouldn't take any risks." "I'm greatly disappointed," announced Hyson as the dust cleared. "I was expecting more of your brother, Renge-chan." "Will this do then?" He heard a voice coming from behind, and before he knew it, Kunai's blade was touching his neck, ready to cut it the moment he moves. As he glanced at his teammates, he noticed that they were in the same situation. Sakura trapped Renge and Fukumaru was holding his sword right behind Shinku's back. "You think we're stupid?" asked the former Miss Nin. "I knew you guys will be after me, so I told Naruto to create 3 clones and then make them look like us in order to make you come out of your hideout. They were simply decoys and you felt right for them." "But that pinkhead punched the whisker marks several times," reminded Hyson. "Normally Bushins get dispelled the moment they receive a direct hit." "And why do you think we made you guys see Sakura-chan's clone wiping the floor with mine?" replied Naruto. "All of that was just an act. If you'd look close enough, you'd notice that none of the punches really connected and all the injuries and bruises were merely a henge." "Clever," complimented Shinku. "I see you learned a few things since the last time we fought, Fukumaru. However, to get back at you, we're not stupid either," and with those words the Mist Nin turned into water. "Damn, Mizu Bushin." The swordsman cursed in his mind. I felt for the basic, and as he turned around he noticed Shinku coming right at him, aiming his katana at his head. Fukumaru crossed the blades of his swords in front of his face, thus blocking the attack, but the impact was so powerful that he slid back a bit anyways. Before he knew it, he was deflecting several shurikens that flew at him with his katanas. Meanwhile, Sakura managed to turn around just to see a kick aimed at her face. As Renge's boot connected with her face, she was sent flying few meters back, but succeeded in landing safely on her feet. "What's the matter, pretty face?" asked the Mist Kunoichi with a smirk. "Can't handle close-range combat?" "I'll show you that when it comes to close range, you're no match for me," replied Sakura, cracking her knuckles. Hyson didn't turn into a puddle of water. To Naruto's surprise, a powerful wave came out of nowhere and slammed him at the trees few meters back. The blue-haired boy turned around and looked at him with a smile appearing on his face. "Do you really think the likes of you are any challenge to me?" he asked with water circling around him. "What the?" Loudmouth's eyes widened at the sight. "It's just like Gaara. Is he a Jinchuriki like us?" But Fukumaru said he knew a Jinchuriki from his village and he only met this guy in at the same time we did. What is his ability then? "Looks like I'll have my rematch after all," smirked Shinku as his grip on his sword tightened. "Come on, Fukumaru, let's finish what we started those 2 years ago. This time no one will interfere." "Unluckily for you," replied the former Mist Nin as he got into his battle stance with both his katanas ready. "You won't use it?" asked the Mist Shinobi a bit disappointed. "I don't think I'll need it against you," came a response. "I've changed and you'll see just how much," and with that Fukumaru launched himself at his former teammate. "Here." Sasuke tossed the egg to Kizaru as his teammates stood right behind him. "Seems to be the one," nodded the examiner. "Congratulations. You're the 5th team to pass this test," and with that he drifted into his mind. "This is still only the first day and already 15 people made it through. Something like that didn't happen since the time I became an examiner. A lot of strong genins participate this year." "Only 5th, whispered the former Leaf Nin and only then noticed 4 other teams already waiting on the glade. The first one consisted of 3 men with headband with a feather on them. A.N. You met them in the 10th chapter. The second and third are team you should know quite well by now. A grass team of Fugato, Ayame and Kosha, and a team from the sand, Dekatsu, Gokibori and Kanpu. However, the 4th team was the one neither Sasuke nor his teammates seen before. The boy that seemed to be the leader of it was around 18 years old. He had long, black hair that was falling on his face and gray eyes. He wore a red t-shirt with black pants, but what was the most eye-catching were 2 strange objects, wrapped in bandages and attached to his back. He had a hite-8 with a branch on it on his left arm. The second member of the team was a girl with long hair, which was multicolored. There were all the colors of the rainbow. Her eyes kept changing colors on the other hand, from blue and green, through yellow and black, to violet and orange. She wore an orange t-shirt with 3 black stripes going from her left shoulder to the belt, and long, black pants. She wore her headband on her forehead. The last one of the 3 was also the most disturbing. He had long, spiky, brown hair and his eyes were hidden behind a black bandana. His skin was strangely gray and he didn't wear a shirt. He was wearing long, black pants, and what was the most unusual thing about him was the fact that he had a thunder-like blade instead of his right arm. "Wood Nins." Beida was surprised at the sight. "Fugato-kun, look at this," Ayame said to her teammate, pointing at Sasuke. "Isn't that those sound nins who keep hanging around Fuka-kun and that whisker marks blonde?" "It seems like it," nodded the grass nin. "But what really troubles me is that black-eyed white head. Why does he keep observing Naruto and that sand redhead? Not only that, but he seems to have more people on his mind. If my assumption is correct, this exam can become a real battlefield." Sakura launched another attack at Renge, but to her surprise the Mist Kunoichi managed to block it with her bare hands. How can she withstand that? The pink hair thought to herself. "I'm putting all my strength in those punches, she should be flying around already." But for her misfortune, the blonde noticed her opponent got distracted and placing her hands on the ground, she launched a scissor kick in the Leaf Nin's face. Both her feet connected and a second later Sakura was flying back. "Seems that I was expecting too much, thinking that will be an even match," announced Renge with a smirk. "Is that really the best the Leaf can put up with?" "I'll show you what the Leaf is capable of," yelled Sakura as she performed a quick set hand seals. Instantly chakra started to emanate from her, filling every part of her body. The ground below her cracked lightly as she gazed at her opponent, who was still smiling. "Well, it's a start," announced the Mist Nin. Naruto dodged another incoming, small wave of water, which hit the tree. "What's up with this guy?" the blonde wondered. "He still haven't used any hand seals. Gaara could control his sand thanks to Shukaku, but how does he control the water?" "You're quite irritating," announced Hyson as he performed several hand seals and called out, "Hajutsu! Kori Arashi!" And before Naruto knew it, icicles shoot from the water that flew around the Mist Nin right at him. The blonde instantly jumped to the left, and by propping his left hand on the ground he balanced himself in a way to avoid all the ice spikes. He then landed on his feet and formed hand seals of his own. Doden. Ishitamarai. And a second later stone spikes shoot from underground and headed right at the mist nin. The blue hair jumped into the air and performed few more hand seals. Immediately the water that was still circling around him formed itself into a dragon and flew right at the blonde, accompanied with the mist nin's call. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Naruto jumped back immediately, and before his feet even touched the ground he performed his standard technique, Kage Bushin no Jutsu, and in an instant 5 Narutos took place instead of 1. As Hyson was slowly beginning to land on the ground, 4 clones slid and kicked him in the back, thus sending him wig into the air, where the real Naruto already waited for him. Uzumaki Naruto Renden. The blonde called out, and landing a powerful kick on the mist nin's head sent him crushing into the ground. However, before Hyson hit the ground, the water that was still circling around him located itself under the blue-haired boy, and making a gazer stopped its master before he crushed to the surface. "What the hell is up with that water?" yelled Naruto as he pointed at the liquid that was once again circling around the mist nin. "How do you do it without even using any hand seals?" "Wouldn't you like to know?" replied Hyson with a smirk. "But you know what, I'll treat that as your last request, and so I'm gonna tell about my clan's special ability." Fukumaru kept attacking his former teammate, thus pushing him back a little. However, all of his cuts were either blocked or deflected by Shinku with his own katana. Finally the former mist nin pushed one of his blades forward, yet the mist shinobi jumped to his right, avoiding the hit, and dropped his sword right at his opponent's blade, making it stick to the ground. In an instant Shinku spun around and gave his former teammate a kick in the gut, which sent him flying back a bit. Fukumaru used the sword that he was able to keep in his hand. The one that Shinku smashed to the ground stayed in it as a break, thus landing safely on his feet. "You say you changed. I can't see that really," announced Shinku with a smirk. "Still as careless as usual. I thought you really did learn something during those 2 years. How disappointing." "What do you mean?" asked Fukumaru, also smiling. This was just a warm-up, and with that he performed a quick set of hand seals. With the last symbol he called out, "Mikazuki no Mai," and instantly 3 Fukumaras were charging right at the mist nin, with their swords ready to cut. "What the hell?" Shinku's eyebrow went up as he stood astride and prepared his sword. "You think you can fool me for the same trick twice? Don't forget who you're dealing with. I'm Arashi Shinku, son of the one of 7 shinobi swordsmen and the bearer of Kabashira." And with that he swung his sword, which instantly separated into tens of pieces, all flying right at Fukumaru and his 2 clones. The former mist nin immediately stopped and used his katana to deflect the incoming pieces of steel. He made it, however his jutsu was cancelled. Fukumaru looked at Shinku with a tiny smile on his face. "I see that you managed to control the blade during the time I was away, Kabashira," meaning mosquito swarm. The blade used by Arashi Mizugo, one of the 7 shinobi swordsmen. It's designed so its blade can separate into many pieces that attack the opponent and then form themselves back into the blade. When did you learn this skill? "It was quite simple really," replied Shinku with a smirk. "During the time you left the Kiri, we fought a missing nin from the hidden sand. He was a puppeteer. That's how I figure how my father was able to control those pieces. He created chakra strings that connected with every element of the blade, thanks to which he was able to put the blade back together in a fraction of a second. Of course, creating the strings and being able to attach them to all the pieces took me a while to master, but I think I've done a pretty good job. I guess I'll have hard time defeating you after all. You didn't expect for a fight between 2 inheritors of the 7 swordsmen to finish quickly, did ya?" replied the mist nin. "After all, the one whose blood goes through your veins is thought to be strongest of the 7. I already told you. I have nothing in common with that man," reminded Fukumaru with anger in his voice. "I will never accept the fact that we are related. Kinda funny hearing it from you, since just like him you betrayed the mist. Of course now you'll defend yourself with that old, 'I had my reasons' talk. Save your tongue and let's continue. I've expected a lot from this, so do not fail me, Fukumaru." And with that the 2 charged at each other once more. Renge kept avoid all of Sakura's attacks, only this time it required much more from her than previously. What the hell? Not only her strength, but this hag's speed seemed to increase as well. This isn't a typical medic nin's skill. and with that thought she jumped back few times, escaping the pink-haired Kunoichi's range. "What's wrong?" asked Sakura with a smirk. "Weren't you saying that I'm not an opponent for you just a while ago? Have you lost your will to fight?" "If you're trying to piss me off, don't bother," replied the Mist Nin simple. "I'm not gonna fall for such a stupid trick. You did however surprise me with that skill. Whatever it is, I suppose that your speed increased because you placed more chakra into your leg muscles. I've never seen a medic nin using that ability for something like that. You're pretty unique. I sure hope that's not your limit, 'cause this has just started to be fun." "Don't worry, you haven't seen anything yet," and with that she charged right at the Mist Kunoichi, but surprisingly for her opponent, the pink-haired girl stopped few meters away and hit the ground with her fist, thus making it tremble and fall into piece. Renge lost her balance for a moment, but that was all Sakura needed. Instantly she jumped right at the Mist Nin and aimed a kick in her face. In the last second the blonde girl was able to dodge it by bending over, thus making the medic nin's kick go above her head. Sakura only smiled under her nose. In a fraction of a second she placed the foot of the leg she used for a kick on the ground and then, standing with her back turned to her opponent, she launched another kick, this time to her back. The Mist Kunoichi had no hope to dodge this time and received a powerful kick in the face which sent her flying back. While she was still in the air, she spun around and came to a sliding stop, avoiding crushing into a nearby mountain. She wiped the blood that was dripping from her lips and smiled. "What are you so happy about?" asked Sakura, also smiling. "Nothing special really, I just didn't had any opponent who could actually hit me for a while. It's boring when the fight's one-sided," and with that she began forming a chain of hand seals. "Let's see how good you really are, Sweden. Fukahir Gyorai." Before Sakura knew it, water shoot from Renge's mouth and after forming itself into a large, blade-like fin, it came right at her at an incredible speed. The pink-haired Kunoichi jumped to the left, thus avoiding the attack, however the Mist Nin was already waiting from her. Before the leaf Kunoichi's feet even touched the ground, she received a powerful kick in the chin, which sent her into the air. As she was coming down, Renge spun on her foot and launched another kick, this time in her stomach. Seeing this, Sakura held out her hands and grabbed the Mist Kunoichi's leg just before it reached her body. The moment her feet touched the ground, she tossed the blonde at a nearby tree with all her strength. Renge managed however to somersault in midair and used her feet to land on the tree safely. Instantly she jumped off it and landing on the ground, she began another set of hand seals. "You made a big mistake staying in that spot, because with all the water left after my shark fin attack, I can do this. Haijutsu, Sensatsu Susho no Jutsu." And suddenly the water on the ground started to shape itself into tens of senbons. "What that?" Sakura's eyes widened as she looked around for a way out. "But isn't this that masked kid from Wave Country technique? Wasn't it a bloodline limit?" And with that thought she bit her fingers. "Goodbye," said Renge with a smile as all the senbons flew right at the pink-haired girl. But before the needles reached their target, Sakura finished her set of hand seals and after slamming her hand to the ground, she called out, "Kachiyose no Jutsu. Come forward, Katsuyu." Instantly she disappeared behind a huge cloud of white smoke. As the air cleared, the Mist Kunoichi saw a huge, green and white slug before her, with the leaf nin standing on top of it. "This is Katsuyu," Sakura introduced the creature, "and together we're taking you down." "Is that so?" Renge kept smiling. "Well, it's more fun this way, since you did this. I guess I should go all out as well," and with that she raised her head at the pink-haired, who only then noticed that her pupils turned cat-like. Naruto looked at Hyson, who just took a bottle of water from his belt and held it in front of him in order to show it to the blonde. "Those sort of bottles are carried by every member of my clan. This is also the source of water that circles around me as we speak. It's not gonna help you in any way, so I might as well tell you how it is possible for me to control the water by my will alone. Practically the whole trick is the bottle." "And what's so special about it?" "My clansmen produce those bottles, one for every member of the clan," explained the Mist Nin. "The moment the bottle is made, a special ritual takes place. The selected elder of the clan, using his or her knowledge, seals a part of the user's chakra inside the bottle he will carry. If you'd look carefully, you'd spot a kanji symbol inside it. That is what's felt of the ritual now. That sign is also a type of container, by performing a quick hand seal and giving it a little piece of my chakra. It starts working like Kachiyose, but instead of creatures or weapons, it summons water, That's why I control such a large amount. Even though this bottle is the only source of it, to answer how I can manipulate it by just my will. It's thanks to the chakra that was transferred into the bottle at my birth. I still don't get it, announced Naruto. Boy, you're dumb, sighed Hyson. Because that symbol inside the bottle holds my chakra. The moment liquid enters it, it gets mixed with my chakra. The energy that gets mixed with the water isn't released in any particular way, like fire, so there's no need for hand seals. Once you release chakra out of your body, you can control it, at least for a little while. However, thanks to the symbol, my control doesn't have any expiration date, and since it's mixed with the liquid, when I order my chakra to circle around me, the water that is mixed with that circles with it as well. That's all there is to it. I still don't get it at all, whined the blonde. I do get, however, that you can make this damn water move as you desire. Guess I'll have to make it evaporate in order to reach you. So, with that he performed his standard technique. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. And instantly there were 5 Narutos instead of 1. Please, you're embarrassing yourself, announced Hyson with a smirk as he performed a chain of hand seals of his own. Sweden. Mizu Toriyami no Jutsu. And before the blonde knew it, tens of water bullets shoot right at him and his clones. The real Naruto was able to avoid few of the incoming bullets by dodging them, sometimes in an inhuman way, but he got hit in the end anyways, and once thrown off balance, he received a real rain of water bullets, which were surprisingly very hard. His clones did even worse and disappeared in the clouds of white smoke the instant Hyson's attack reached them. Don't take the mist shinobi lightly, loser, advised the blue-haired boy as he walked closer to the blonde. You are from Konoha, which is thought to be one of the most powerful villages in the world, but so is mine, and I won't allow a brat like you to defeat me. My goal is to kill that Nader traitor. You wish to kill him, you say, said Naruto as he slowly got back to his feet, his head lowered so that the mist nin couldn't see his eyes. Unlucky for you. He's my teammate now and I won't let anyone take my friend away from me again. And what can you do in this situation? Asked Hyson with a smirk. You should know by now you cannot defeat me. You have even smaller chance in defeating Shinku. Just give it up and get out of here, that way you'll stay alive. A tempting offer, replied the blonde. Allow me to repay you with the same thing. Leave here and I promise I won't tear you into pieces. Sorry, no can do. Guess I'll have to crush you then, and with that Naruto raised his head, thus revealing his eyes became bloody red. Hyson shivered at the sight and backed away a few steps. Those eyes, and even though my attack hit him, he seems perfectly fine. This is insane, 2 at the same time. The 2 katanas clashed again and both swordsmen jumped away from each other, not taking their sight out of the opponent. Fukumaru was now standing on the edge of a cliff with Shinku few meters away. The mist nin smiled as he noticed the Nader air breathing a little heavier than before. Tired already? You're not even going all out. Come on, you can do better, release it, or at least try using Torrigan. What's the point in that? Replied the former mist nin with a smirk. You know all about it and that also includes the way to fight it, even if you haven't figured that out from me. I'm positive Renge told you, using Tiger's Eye on you will be just a waste of chakra. Just then they both felt a strange chakra near. As they turned in the direction Hyson and Naruto fought, they noticed a change in the leaf nin. His eyes became red, his whisker marks were more visible now, even his hair changed color. That pinhead, he's a Jinchuriki as well. Fukumaru's eyes widened as he looked at his teammate, completely forgetting about the fight. You picked a bad time to look around, Fukumaru, announced Shinku as he swung his blade, which separated into tens of pieces again. Each piece hit the ground before the former mist nin, creating a half circle. The ground under Fukumaru's feet shook and in an instant it broke into pieces, thus making the former mist nin lose balance and fell backwards, right into the chasm. Sorry, Fukumaru, whispered Shinku, lowering his head as a sad expression appeared on his face. It doesn't seem like there will be another time, after all. Damn it, Fukumaru, you lost again. A 9-year-old Shinku yelled at his friend, who was slowly getting back to his feet. What is your problem? If you're not going to go all out against me, you'll never defeat me. I told you that countless times. When will it get through your skull? We're just training, Shinku reminded the young Fukumaru as he wiped the blood that was coming from his mouth. And we're friends. If we both were to go all out, one of us would get hurt for sure. And that way you're getting your butt kicked. You're injured now, you blockhead. How's that any different? Just once, can't you give me your best shoot? Actually, I always plan to do that, but when the opportunity comes, I just let it slip. Why damn it? Yelled Shinku. So what if I get injured? Don't you want to win at least once? We're friends, replied Fukumaru calmly with a smile. As long as that is so, there'll always be another time, and with that he held out his hand. Let us fight soon. I want to have a rematch. Sooner or later, I'll knock you down. Shinku just stared at him for a moment and then grabbing his friend's hand, he said, You're a real pinhead, Fukumaru. You know I'll just kick your ass again, even without using my best moves. Shinku looked into the chasm as the memory of that day slowly faded away in his mind. Guess we're out of another times, aren't we, Fukumaru? And just then an orange blur went right past him, throwing a scythe on a chain into the chasm. Fukumaru, you idiot, grab this, yelled Naruto as he observed his teammate falling into the darkness. A second later he felt something grabbing the chain and hold on tight to it. Hold on, I'll pull you up. Man, you're dumb, announced Hyson, as he joined Shinku, who was standing just few meters away from the two leaf nins. In this state, you can't even defend yourself. The easiest target in the world. And with that he performed several hand seals. Hijutsu. Tsunami Hase. Instantly a huge tidal wave formed itself from water circling around Hyson and came at the blonde's back, hitting it with full force and falling into the chasm. The Whisker Mark's eyes turned even more red than they already were, yet he kept pulling up the chain on which end Fukumaru came into view. Oh, you're still able to hold that thing? Asked Hyson with a smile. Maybe we should have a contest. Let's see how long you'll last, and with that he performed more hand seals. Sweden. Mizu Toriumi no Jutsu. Blood shoot out from Naruto's back as water bullets hit it. The leaf nin screamed in pain as red liquid left his mouth, however he looked down where Fukumaru was and kept pulling him up. That pinhead, the former mist nin cursed in his mind. The surface is too slippery for me to walk on it, it's probably the effect of that Hyson guy's technique, however, if this keeps up, both me and Naruto will end up dead, and with that thought he called out loud. Let me go, you dope, otherwise we're both done for and so is Sakura. Just then the pink-haired Kunoichi turned around and saw what was going on. That was enough for Renge to take action. Collecting most of the chakra into her right fist, she landed a powerful punch on the medic nin's face, thus sending her flying into a nearby tree and falling into unconsciousness. Katsuyu instantly disappeared in the cloud of white smoke. You're a resistant one, aren't you? Asked Tyson with a smirk. Oh well, time for round 3, Sweden. Mizu Toriumi no Jutsu. And once more water bullets smashed into Naruto's back, making it covered with his own blood. This weird, red chakra surrounding him must be helping him in a way, it probably lowers the damage my water shower's doing. Hyson, if you want to do something, do it right, announced Shinku as he raised his sword, prepared to use its ability. That chakra armor or whatever it is may absorb some of the ninjutsu attacks, but my mosquito swarm is pure steel. It'll cut his arms so they won't be able to hold that stupid chain anymore. What the hell is your problem? Fukumaru yelled at his teammate as he heard the Mist Nin's announcement. Let go! Let go! And as he looked in Naruto's eyes he saw that the blonde had no intention to do what he asked. Why won't you let go? He asked, much quieter now. I once let my friend go, replied Naruto with a serious voice. I'm not intending to do so again, I'll pull you back no matter what. At hearing that both Fukumaru's and Shinku's eyes widened, the Kabashira user lowered his sight slightly. As long as we're friends, there'll always be another time, Fukumaru's words rang in his head. A moment later he placed the blade on his back and turning around he said, Let's just go get the egg. Shinku-kun. Renge looked at her teammate. What the hell are you talking about, Shinku? Hyson yelled. It's the traitorous Nader. As mist shinobies it is our duty to. Hyson, the mist Kunoichi interrupted her teammate. Let's go. The blue-haired boy watched as his comrades started to walk away and anger appeared on his face. Fine, he said through clenched teeth as his water went back into the bottle. But get this, Nader. If you'll somehow get to the final round and we'll have to face each other, you can be sure I'll kill, and with that he followed his teammates. A moment later Fukumaru was back on a solid ground and Naruto collapsed to the surface. The former Mist Nin stared in the direction where his old teammates went and then got to treating his current comrades. Jiraiya walked into the quarters where all the Junins awaited the third test results. As he walked through the hallway, Banrai came from the other side. The moment they passed each other, the frog Sanin announced, "Your buddies failed." "What?" asked the other man with no emotions in his voice. "I won't let you take those kids, I'm afraid I don't understand," replied Banrai with a tiny smirk appearing on his face. "You'll have to explain what you mean, Jiraiya-san." But the legendary Leaf did not answer. He just walked away and soon Banrai did the same. As soon as both speakers disappeared from the hallway, Kabuto walked to the center of it, appearing from the wall. "Henge is really useful," he said to himself as he fixed his glasses. "I guess I should inform this to Orochimaru-sama." Naruto slowly regained his consciousness and sat up. As he opened his eyes, he noticed Sakura sitting right beside him, but Fukumaru was nowhere in sight. "Where's the dope?" "He told me to take care of you and went to get the egg on his own," replied the pink-haired Kunoichi. "You were badly injured by that blue head and needed a lot of rest, but you cured faster than I estimated. You shouldn't move till the end of the day though." "Probably that damn furball helped me recover faster," the blonde thought to himself as he rubbed his neck. "But is that wise to go for the egg alone? What if those mist nins would attack him again, or if they'd come back for us?" "Well, I don't quite get it myself," came a response. "But Fukumaru assured me that they won't. It seems that he had some relationship with that blonde swordsman and the girl is his sister after all, so I guess he knows them." "Okay. Then let me ask differently. Why they even let us live in the first place? You were unconscious and I could be easily killed along with that dope. Why did they let us go?" Fukumaru said that he knows why, but didn't tell me. Whatever reason they may had though, the point is we are alive and for the time being this is what counts. "Let's get going." They both heard a voice from behind and jumped into the air, screaming. "What the hell are you guys doing? It's only me, damn it," announced Fukumaru as now both Leaf Nins looked at the arrival closely. "Don't scare us like that, you worm," yelled Sakura as she gave the swordsman a punch on the head. "I almost had a heart attack. What would the world do without my beauty? What would all my fans do?" "I'm sure all three of them would get over it eventually," replied Fukumaru and then he turned to Naruto. "Thanks for saving me. I guess I owe you one, but for now we should get this egg to the finish line and end this test." With that he shown them the egg he collected. "It's the third day already and everyone that's left in the area is probably getting impatient and ready to do anything to get their egg." "You do what a point," nodded the pink-haired Kunoichi. "I'll kill you later," and with that all three of them headed to the starting point. "Took you long enough, brats," laughed Jiraiya when Naruto and his teammates reached their quarters where they were supposed to rest until the day of the final exam. "Our other teams finished this test already." "Just shut up you freaking pervert," the whisker marks yelled back at him. "Why did you even bother to come? Aren't you busy with that stupid research of yours?" "Actually, about that," announced the Toad Sanin as he stood up from the chair. "I have some information that you should hear, Naruto. The Akatsuki is here and you know what that means." Sakura noticed Fukumaru's eyes widening at hearing that, but decided to keep quiet for the time being. "Akatsuki? What are they? And what connection do they have with Naruto and Fukumaru?" "Jiraiya-san," began the former Mist Nin, gaining the white-haired man's attention. "I think I know what you want," interrupted the Toad Sanin. "Tsunade told me about this. I think it's high time you spit out the whole truth. I'm actually curious about the details myself, 'cause it seems that you only told the Hokage what was necessary." Fukumaru lowered his head and stared at the floor. Sooner or later it'll have to be done." "Okay," the swordsman finally agreed. "Wait here while I get the other genins," and with that Jiraiya left their room. "I see," nodded Banrai as he took the scroll from his three subordinates. "Are you sure you managed to locate all the Jinchuriki in the tournament?" "All that we're able to pass so far," replied the white-haired boy. "The information that we provided you earlier has not changed, Banrai-sama." "Good." With that the Akatsuki member reached to his pocket and gave the boy a small scroll. "These are your orders for the final exam. You shouldn't have any problems in completing them. Soon our ambition will come true." "So, what is this important business?" asked Neji a bit curious as all the Leaf rookies gathered in the room. Jiraiya looked at Fukumaru, who sighed and said out loud, "I have something that you all should hear, but before that, what are those guys doing here?" And with that he pointed at Gaara and his siblings who were standing just beside Fugato and his teammates. "I believe their presence here is justified, but do not worry about that for the time being," replied the Toad Sanin. Just tell them why they were called here. Fine. The former Mist Nin looked around the room and after taking a deep breath, he announced. To start with, I guess I should warn you that what you will hear might be shocking for some of you. I hate making things longer than they has to be, so best just say it straight. I'm carrying one of the Biju inside myself. One of the tailed demons? Kiba's eyes widen. Like Gaara? What do you mean by, like Gaara? Asked Fukumaru as his gaze traveled to the Sand Nin. This is not a big secret, replied the redhead. When I was still very young, a one-tailed demon named Shukaku was imprisoned in me. That's the reason why I have bags under my eyes. If I were to fall asleep, the demon would most likely take over and go attacking everyone. I see, nodded the former Mist Nin. Since the moment we met I felt strange chakra inside of you. Maybe a Jinchuriki can sense one of their kind. In some cases, agreed Fugato as all eyes turned to him. However, in order for that to be possible, the beast must have at least a little bit of freedom. That way, the part that is left on the loose sense its former companions and give signals into the vessel's mind. You seem to know a lot about Jinchuriki, Fugato-san, noticed Hinata quietly. Well, in a way it should be the area of my interest, replied the grass nin. Since a Biju was sealed inside of me as well. This time Naruto's eyes widened at the statement. I carry the two-tailed beast, master of death, Nekomata. Now isn't this a day of surprises, smirked Fukumaru. I've never met another Jinchuriki my entire life and now it seems I met a whole bunch. So, along with that girl from Kumo it'd make 4. 5, corrected Jiraiya as everyone looked at the Sannin. He quickly exchanged glances with Naruto, yet said nothing more. What do you mean, Jiraiya-san? Asked Ino. Fugato-san, Gaara and Fukumaru makes 3. Adding that blonde Kunoichi from the hidden cloud gives 4. Since everyone does that, began Naruto slowly. I guess, I should come clean as well. At that everyone turned to the boy and after a longer while. He continued. You guys probably know that 14 years ago Konoha was attacked by a 9-tailed, fox demon by the name of Kyuubi. No one could match him and only the Yondaime Hokage could withstand the beast's strength. He defeated the demon, yet was unable to kill it, so the only way was to seal the demon, so that it wouldn't threaten the leaf anymore, so he chose a newborn child as a container. At hearing that Hinata's eyes widened as Naruto stopped for a moment. He took another, deep breath and then finished. That kid was me. Fei fought. Say what? Choji almost choked while eating his potato chips. Well, that explains few things, announced Shikamaru. Like why you have such a huge amount of chakra, why your wounds heal so fast, along with other things. Hey, you just stopped going cuz it was too troublesome, didn't you? Ino pointed a finger at her teammate yelling, but he just yawned and hid his hands in his pockets. More importantly than that, began Kiba as he looked at the whisker marks. How are we supposed to know if staying close to you is safe? I mean, look at Gaara. He's got a demon too and we all know that during the Chunin exam he wasn't exactly sane, and just then Tamari gave him a smack on the head. Maybe I can explain this, purposed Fugato. You see, even though there are few villages in which bijus are used, the way of sealing them differs everywhere. Some seals are stronger than others, but there's also the fact that controlling such a huge power is difficult and not always possible. The demon will always affect the vessel in a way, and dependable on the Jinchuriki will power. It will be more or less visible. There are cases in which demon influence are not easy spotted. I guess Fukumaru and Naruto can be the examples, but there are also the cases where person's psychic is easily harmed and the demon can take control at any time. I believe that Psycho Girl from the Hidden Cloud is in that sort of situation. So I guess, because Gaara was alone all that time weakened his willpower and that's why it was easier for Shukaku-o take over, concluded Kankuro and the grass nin only nodded. Well, that surely had some effect, nodded the Nekomata vessel. Wait a minute, carrying a demon inside your body, how can no one know about that? Wondered Lee. It's too much even for my youth mind to handle. Actually, most of the village knows, replied Naruto. That's the reason why the adults avoided me. So it's the same, Fukumaru smirked slightly at hearing that. What do you mean? Sakura looked a bit confused. It's pretty simple, responded Ayame. They blame you for what the Kyuubi did, don't they? The blonde only nodded. Human mentally is easy to predict, since they couldn't do anything against the demon. They focused their anger on you. It was the same in Fugato-kun's case. But that's just ridiculous. For the first time Hinata yelled, surprising everyone. Since the demon got sealed inside Naruto-kun, that means he sacrificed himself for the whole village, can't anyone see that? Fukumaru only smiled under his nose at those words and then placed his hand on white-eyed girl's shoulder. Probably deep down they all know, but it's hard for them to accept it. In my case, what pushed people against me was fear. Right, we gathered here to listen to your story in the first place, remembered Tenten as she gave the swordsman a quick glare. Well, it is a bit of a shock I guess, announced Shino. However, none of you really choose this to be, just having a demon sealed inside doesn't make you one. He's right, nodded Neji. It did surprise me, yet it changes nothing to me. Naruto looked around the room. He never expected this day to look as it did. None of the people gathered seemed to feel anger or fear of him, what their faces shone seemed more like approval or curiosity. Only Hinata had a sad expression showing on her face. Thanks, everyone, the loud mouth bowed slightly. Anyways, Tamari finally decided to break the silence. I believe you were wanting to tell us about yourself. With that she turned to Fukumaru. Well, that's why we were called here, nodded Kosha. So which demon do you carry? 5 tails, replied the former Mist Nin simply. The hyena demon, Koko. Actually you can say all the mess that I've gotten myself into, is that bastard's fault. How is that so? Asked Jiraiya. Well, you might want to get something to drink and eat, responded Fukumaru. It's kinda a long story, and it goes way back, before my clan got wiped out and before I became a missing nin. I'll skip the part when Koko gets sealed inside of me. It all began when I was 8. Fukumaru, you pinhead, you lost again, announced 8-year-old Shinku with a bored tone. Were you really serious about catching up to Jun? 'Cause so far you can't even land a blow on me. Oh just shut up, replied Fukumaru with a smile as he got back to his feet. Someday I'll beat you. Just wait till I awake the Torrigan. Then your ass is kicked. Yeah, came a response. You just keep talking about that Nadir bloodline limit of yours and you still wasn't able to activate it. I'm beginning to think you'll never manage. I mean, Renge awakened it already and Jun reached his before he turned 6. You should hurry up. Don't forget that tomorrow we're starting the academy and I'd be greatly disappointed if you wouldn't make it to the second best. Second? Asked Fukumaru with a smirk. Well, you don't expect to be better than me, do you? Shinku half joked. Okay you guys, knock it off. 8-year-old Renge walked between the two. Fukumaru, you shouldn't forget that we're going to celebrate the fact that Jun became an Anbu today. The whole clan will show up, even Uncle Kisame will come. You mean one of the 7 shinobi swordsmen? Asked Shinku intrigued. Nodded the kunoichi. I heard that your father saved his life once, our mother's brother, or something like, so he doesn't have the Torrigan, but he's supposed to be the top of the mist swordsmen. Cool. Maybe he'll finally fulfill his promise and he'll show me some good moves, yelled Fukumaru excited. Now I can't wait for the evening. You should be more excited about Jun's promotion, reminded him Renge, sweat dropping. He's your brother after all. Like that'd help you, joked Shinku before turning around. I guess I see you guys tomorrow then, just don't be late. Academy entrance ceremony starts exactly at 10 in the morning, later. And with that he jumped onto the nearby tree and headed back to the village. That evening, congratulations on becoming an ANBU, bro, yelled Fukumaru as he walked closer to a boy around 11 years of age, who had long, blonde hair, made into a tress and blue eyes. He was wearing a black t-shirt and white pants with short, trouser legs. I guess now you'll get to hang around with masked chicks, won't ya? You sure have a wild imagination, Fukumaru, replied the boy with a smile. Yeah, don't mind him. He's been excited all day today, announced Renge with a sigh. Of course he was. They all heard a voice and as they turned in the direction it came from, they saw a man with blue skin, shark-like face, gelled up, blue hair and a huge sword. Wrapper in bandages on his back. He was wearing a black cloak and smiling widely, thus revealing sharp teeth. After all so many things are happening, you've become an Anbu. His sister and himself will attend academy tomorrow. Uncle Kisame, yelled Fukumaru cheerfully. Hey, kiddo, replied the man as he put his hand on the boy's head. How's it going? Ready for your big day tomorrow? Sure thing. I'm gonna show the entire village how strong I am. Well then, no slacking off, advised the man with a smile. It'd be a shame for Hidden Mist to lose a shinobi like you, and with that he looked at Renge. I hope you'll do good as well. Sorry that I won't stay longer, but I'm leaving tomorrow in the morning on another mission, so I'm afraid I'll have to take my leave soon. But before that, Jun, may I have a word with you in private? He asked the 11-year-old. Certainly, nodded the boy and guided him to his room. End flashback. Now that I look back at it, said Fukumaru while putting down his glass of juice. I guess Kisame was already working for the Akatsuki at that time, or at least was already planning to do it. If I'd noticed it back then, maybe this whole thing could be avoided. 6 years ago? Wondered Jiraiya. I guess it's not far from the truth. According to my information, Hoshigaki joined the organization around the same time Orochimaru did, so 5.5 years back. But what did he wanted with your brother, Fukumaru-kun? Asked Hinata quietly. I never figured that out, replied the former Miss Nin. It's not of any big importance though. Maybe he got scared of my brother and figured he might be a threat to him if he were to try and capture me, so he tried to convince him not to. The only one who knows is Kisame himself. Your own family, began Gaara. Such betray must have left a scar. Well, it definitely wasn't a birthday present I always wanted, replied Fukumaru sarcastically. But I'm getting a little ahead here. The events of the next day were really those which caused the wheel of fortune to turn. So what happened? Asked Naruto curious. Well, I don't recall all the details, responded the former Miss Nin. But one thing is certain, he announced, and everyone gathered looked at him. It was the first time Koko reminded people that he wasn't killed. 6 years ago. Welcome, young students, to your first day in the academy. Announced a man with long, black hair, clipped in a ponytail and blue eyes, wearing a Chunin vest. Today you'll be taking your first step on your ninja way. No matter which route you'll choose, you must keep in mind that shinobi top priority is always the good of his or hers village, along with the lives of his companions. I hope you'll take that to your hearts. Use this day to get to know your classmates better and decide which route suits you best. Feel free to ask me or those who came here today with you for advice. I wish you all a nice day, and with that he disappeared in the crowd. I see Jiro-san haven't changed much, announced Jun with a smirk. You know him, Jun Nisan? Asked Renge as she turned to her older brother. He was the Chunin teaching me back when I was still in the academy, just before I entered this place. He was the one who was against the final exam to become genin. He may not look like it, but he's a good guy, so you can consider yourselves lucky to have him as your sensei until you get your own Junin instructors. Whatever, announced Fukumaru as he yawned a little. Come on, sis, we should go and find Shinku. You should slow down a bit, Fuka-chan, joked his older brother. You know Shinku since you guys were 3, and there's tens of people you haven't seen before and with who you'll have to spend the next few years. You should look around for few new friends. Yeah, you heard your nanny, Nader, came a voice, and as the 3 Nader siblings turned around, they noticed a boy with spiky, brown hair and green eyes, standing next to them with his arms crossed. He was wearing a black t-shirt and gray, a bit baggy, pants. Play nicely. Renge and Jun simply ignored the boy, but Fukumaru was totally pissed. I don't know who you are, but either you'll shut up or I'll wipe that smile of your face with the dirt on the ground. You got that, weenie? Fukumaru, his older brother, reminded him, raising his voice a little. What? The boy shoot back. Are you all right with some crap pants to insult you? Leave him by, Jun asked calmly. It's not worth it. Yeah, be a good boy and buzz off, laughed the brown-haired boy. Just then everything happened in an instant. Fukumaru jumped right towards the other boy with his fists ready. Both Jun and Renge were too slow to stop him in time, and thus the blonde engaged the laughing boy. Both boys started to throw punches and kicks. Fukumaru launched a spin kick aimed at the brown-haired boy's head, but his opponent bended over, thus making the young Nader's leg fly right above his head, and then the boy rammed the blonde with his elbow, forcing Fukumaru to take few steps back. The moment he regained his balance, the brown-haired boy landed a powerful blow in his stomach, making the blonde gasp for air and bend over due to the impact. As soon as his head located itself closer to the ground, his opponent landed another punch, this time on his face, making his head shoot back. Just then the boy was ready to attack again, only to be stopped by Jun. That's enough, he said, grabbing the boy's hand. This is meaningless, and furthermore this is your first day. It's not wise to cause it this time. Big bro coming for the rescue. chuckled the boy as he lowered his hand. Jun said nothing. He just sighed internally, and a second later his eyes widened. Fukumaru was slowly getting back to his feet. But it wasn't the Fukumaru he knew so far. His hair seemed to grow a bit longer and his eyes began changing colors from blue, through yellow and red, finishing on the black. But the most scariest part was the fact that chakra started to escape from every part of his body. The brown-haired boy took few steps back as Fukumaru looked with rage in his eyes at him. Shivers run down the boy's spine as he hid behind Jun. The older boy didn't move an inch. Instead he reached to his pocket and picked out a strange tag. "Jun Nissan, what's going on?" asked Renge terrified. A second later Shinku arrived at the scene and instantly froze, seeing his friend in the state he was. End flashback. "I don't recall what happened afterwards," admitted Fukumaru. "Guess Huku've taken over completely the next moment, from what I was able to figure out on my own. Jun stopped me with that tag that he picked out of his pocket, but that stupid kid went to the hospital nonetheless." "Considering the way you described it," began Fugato. "Your brother probably used chakra-draining tag on you and that way weakened Coco enough for the seal they used on you to seal it again. Being only 8 made it impossible for you to overcome the demon on your own. 8-year-old doesn't have enough willpower, I guess." "You seem to know more about situations like that, Fugato-san," noticed Sakura as she turned to the grass nin. "Did something like that happen to you?" "Well, the Nekomata vessel began, but was instantly cut off by Ayame. That's not the time for Fugato-kun's story. I believe we should let Fuka-chan finish his and then we'll chat about what happened in the Kusa." The moment she said so, Fugato smiled to her warmly. Shino noticed that, but didn't react in any way. "So what happened afterwards?" he finally asked Fukumaru. "The next thing I remember," replied the former Mist Nin, "was waking up in my bed. 6 years ago. It awakened?" Fukumaru heard an elder voice as he felt he was laying on his bed. The voice sounded somewhat familiar, yet he couldn't tell who was it. He decided to not get up in hope to find out what the man was talking about. Why at a time like this? It's been 8 years. Maybe it was slowly regaining power and we were too blind to see it, purposed another voice, and this one Fukumaru recognized immediately. It belonged to his older brother. The seal was made in a rush. Mizukage-sama. Actually, it's surprising that Coco didn't try to break loose sooner. "What options do we have?" asked the first voice, Mizukage. "We cannot allow for that hyena to get free, but killing Fukumaru is not a way either. Ichigo, it had seemed that the pact you made with Sandane was something you should never brought up." "I was blinded," confessed the third voice. This one belonged to Fukumaru's father. "Unfortunately you were right, Yandaime-sama. Demons should be rid off once and for all. It's a bit too late now, however." "I know a way to keep the demon inside him," announced Jun. "Preparations will take quite a while, since it's a very old, sealing method, but if I'll be able to finish it, Fukumaru will not only be able to hold the demon inside, but also leap into its chakra when he'll need it without losing control." "Is it certain?" asked the Mizukage. "It didn't failed in the past if that is what you're asking, Yandaime-sama," came a response. "However, it requires microscopic precision and consumes a lot of time. If I were to fulfill my Anbu duties and make preparations in my free time, finishing the seal can take up to 4 years. "It's still better than doing nothing," replied the Mist Leader. "I'll trust you on this, Jun-san." Just then Fukumaru decided to stand up and looked at the three men. "Oh, Fukumaru-kun, you're awake," noticed Mizukage as he gave the boy a warm smile. He was a man in his late 30s. He had spiky, black hair and dark blue eyes. He was wearing a headgear with the kanji symbol for water on it and a white robe. "Hope you're feeling better." "Mizukage-sama, why are you here?" asked the boy after bowing. When he did so, he felt pain in his entire body. He did his best not to whine, but the look on his face gave him away. "You should rest, Fukumaru," announced his father, a man with spiky, blonde hair and orange eyes. He had his hands covered in bandages and was wearing a jet black robe. "You used up a lot of your chakra and that put a strain on your body." "But what happened to me?" asked the future, missing Nin. The three men just exchanged glances. Fukumaru easily noticed that none of them really wished to reveal the truth to him, but just then Kisame entered the room and asked in a loud voice, "Is it true what I heard? Coco awakened? Is Fukumaru all right?" Fukumaru's face froze at that. He read the stories about Hyena Demon of 5 Tails, Coco, which once almost completely destroyed the hidden mist. The creature's power was unmatched and it was rumored that the beast was never killed. Kisame. What are you talking about? Asked Jun, pretending he had no idea what his cousin meant. Fukumaru just got into a fight and used up too much chakra, that's all. Oh yeah, stupid me, replied the shark face. I got carried away. I should read that bedtime story to Renge last night, it works on your imagination, and so he walked away, along with everyone else, leaving Fukumaru by himself. End flashback. I could have sworn I saw Kisame smirking back then, admitted Fukumaru. I shouldn't ignore it, but after that things seemed to settle down a bit and I guess I was happy with that. In the end I was still just a brat. But weren't people afraid? Asked Shikamaru. Just before their eyes some sort of monster got released, your classmates. Mizukage decided to keep it a secret, replied the former Mist Nin. The adults gathered there that day were forbidden to say anything and children was not supposed to be told what I carry inside. I'm not sure whether it was for my own protection or to not cause panic, but it doesn't make big difference now anyway. And what about your sister and that, Shinku, was it? Asked Neji. They were there. Jun talked to Renge, explained Fukumaru. I don't know what he told her, but she didn't seem to be disturbed by that incident back then. As for Shinku, I don't fully understand, but he didn't make a big deal out of it, though the fact that he saw it somewhat led to the way things are now. How's that? Naruto got curious. Until now, I still haven't won against him even once. What that has to do with anything? Asked Ino. I think I know, announced Lee, gaining everyone's attention. Fukumaru-kun never released Koko during a fight with Shinku and I believe that the boy's spirit of youth couldn't bear the fact that he wasn't going all out against him. Your friend wanted you to get serious, didn't he, Fukumaru-kun? Well, it's pretty much as you say, nodded the former Mist Nin, his face becoming a little grim. Except for one little detail, I did release Koko against him once, that was the only time I almost got him. Almost? Kiba's eyes widen. You mean he defeated you even when you used demon chakra? That guy's a monster too. You misunderstand, corrected Fukumaru. He didn't beaten me, nor did I beaten him back then. This is the one fight that we never finished, the one he wants a rematch for. It's pointless to say it like that, announced Tamari. Just tell us what happened after your demon awakened for the first time. Well, for some time it was calm, admitted the former Mist Nin. However, I didn't expect that the events of that day will lead to what happened later on, since it was something I haven't seen even in my worst nightmares. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.